Well, hello everyone, and welcome in. Welcome in once again to our awesome rockin' night here at the Six Screens of the Watchtower. Friends, we are exposing one of the most dangerous cults on the planet, and we have someone filling in tonight for Dick and Constance. Well, they have a program, D and C. They'll be back with us in 2 weeks. But right now we have Josh Rivera. He's been on the Six Screens before. He's not a stranger, and he's got a program tonight called Lighthouse After the Storm. So take it away, Josh. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead, play music.
Okay, I'm just gonna give a quick intro. I'm just gonna play my mom's favorite song in the world. She loved this show. She loved the message of the music, and I'm just gonna play a few seconds because of copyright. But here we go. Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. Okay, so Rick, if you just give me a moment, I'm gonna get my spirit right going. I'm a little bit non-traditional to what's usually here on the Six Screens. I gotta come always with something a little different. I got my old David King hat, my
Well,
persona.
I see that you're looking good. I'm here with you. I'll be glad to walk you through all of this, Josh. We're now entering a whole new world here since you've been on. You should just come on our radio network and on our Six Screens video suite. But now we're on 10 different platforms. You're all over YouTube. You're all over Facebook groups. So it's getting bigger all the time. But we're so glad to have you back on with us, Josh.
Yes, it's a little bittersweet because unfortunately, for those that used to follow me when I used to be on here at night and all the crazy times we used to have, the fun times, the arguments, the exposing of the watchtower, the way we used to have a lot of fun on here. And unfortunately, my mom, who used to be on with me, passed away on April 8th, around 2:30 p.m. during the eclipse. In the middle of the eclipse, she passed. So this is not a memorialization episode. I want this to be an upbeat, happy episode. But I want to just, a lot of the things that we were not allowed to do as Jehovah's Witnesses. Um, I know half of my face is cut off right now, but I want you guys to see my drum. One of the things that we were not able to do as Jehovah's Witnesses was to explore our roots and our culture, and a lot of the things that we receive from our ancestors, no matter what walk of life or background you have. I mean, sometimes when you meditate on what it took for each of us as human beings to even come to be in existence. When you think about all your lineage going back to ancient times, people that have lived and died and contributed to making us who we are in our authentic selves. And the Watchtower took that away from us, deemed everything satanic, pagan, whatever. And me being of Afro Puerto Rican descent, everything from my culture was deemed satanic. So when I left the organization and went through all my different changes, one of the things I wanted to do was explore my culture and explore my roots. And my mom, my dear mom, she supported me in that. So I'm on my journey and I'm going to keep on, but I'm going to do a quick drum solo in her honor, and then we can get started. Ready, Rick?
Yeah, go ahead.
How's that sound?
It sounded good. Sounded good. I didn't know you were a drum player.
Well, it's one of the things that I've tried to get involved with, a hobby. It's a form of healing, a spirituality across all cultures. The drum beat is it's a way of healing. It's the heartbeat of the earth. So when I can't thank you enough for when we do our actual memorial service that's gonna be broadcast live. I do look forward to your help, and there's going to be an actual performance that's going to be done. That's going to be filmed by actual professionals, and I'm going to be involved with it. So yeah. So thank you for letting me just kind of talk about that a little bit. I did not get a chance to really promote that I was going to be on. This was a last minute thing. But I just kind of wanted to have a conversation with you, Rick, man.
Well, yeah, no, that's good. So, what would just to bring the audience up to speed, Josh? You've been on the program before. You had your own program on here 3 years ago, and we certainly appreciated you coming on. You did a great job. Now, your mother Nora, she was a wonderful woman, and I know that she was distancing herself from the Watchtower as well as you were. At the time, you were married to a Jehovah's Witness woman. I think you're still married to her, Gloria.
Mhm.
And obviously, it was an issue. And, you couldn't do a broadcast from your apartment with your wife around. So you and your mother, God bless her, you went out in your car. And I can remember many nights it was cold and freezing, but you were out there and you were, doing the broadcast, and it was wonderful. And sometimes you'd go to the wee hours of the morning. So we give you all the credit in the world for that, Josh. You were
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, it was unreal. Yeah.
So I want to talk about some of those days. So obviously, there's people. I don't know how many are listening in right now. But I made my exit. I guess I'm just coming in like just to tell my story, because what you just explained is kind of like a surface level thing, but there was so much that went into me getting to that point of being on the air with my mom. But here's the deal. So I was raised. I'm a born in Jehovah's Witness. I was a born in Jehovah's Witness, and my mom started studying with the witnesses around the time that I was when she was pregnant with me. So the witnesses got to my mom in a very vulnerable time. And what had happened, and if you don't mind, I hope it's okay to just kind of tell my story. What had happened was that in the era of Vietnam, during the Vietnam War, I had a cousin who was kind of like an uncle, who was a really bad dude. He was known in the streets. He was, into, he was a drug dealer. He was like a gangster in New York, rough part of New York. He was no joke, and he got drafted to go to the military. And the only reason he wanted to go to the military was because he wanted to learn, about firearms and military tactics, because he wanted to overthrow the government. This is in the 60s, okay? He was not well, mentally. He went to Vietnam, and Vietnam made him even crazier. He was on the front lines. He saw all kind of combat. So he came back to New York City totally like whacked out of his mind. And I'm going to try to speed the story up. Basically, the witnesses got to him. He studied the blue bomb in the Spanish congregation, the Bomba Azul, they used to call it, the truth book. And, he read the book within a night, but he was so feared in the neighborhood that when he would try to go to the Kingdom Hall to study, they would lock the doors and not let him in, because a lot of people that were witnesses around them knew him from high school and stuff, and they were petrified of him. So when he came into the truth, he made such a 360-degree change, that it just shocked my family. And then another cousin, he studied with a cousin of mine, and then that cousin studied with my mom. And so what happened is, in that era, there was a wave of people coming into the organization. It was like a big wave. And these pioneers would show up to my grandparents' house, my great grandparents' house, And literally in the whole house, there'll be like 3 or 4 or 5 studies happening at the same time in the same house in corners. And it caused a big problem in my family. Most of my family at the time was Catholic. Puerto Ricans are generally very Catholic. And the divisions in the family started from there. And my mom, I had my father was also coming back from Vietnam, and he was all messed up into a lot of things. So out of fear and wanting to protect me, when my grandparents moved to Florida, my mom moved to Florida and kept on studying. She got baptized when I was 3 years old, and basically just bought into the whole Kool-Aid of the paradise, Armageddon. I remember living in fear of Armageddon my whole life. My mom spent her whole life sacrificing for the congregation, giving elderly people rides to the meetings, cooking for people, going grocery shopping for a lot. We had a lot of in my congregation, we had a lot of elderly folks, and we had a lot of Holocaust survivors. This is Florida back in the 80s, so you can imagine. So there was a lot of Holocaust survivors that were Jehovah's Witnesses in my area that survived it. So I grew up, taking care of elderly, going shop, getting shop, going shopping for them. I just observed a lot of kindness through my mom and people that studied with me. And I'm not here to praise the organization or anything, but it was a different time then. And you never really saw the governing body back then. And, Jehovah's Witnesses are not evil people. It's just the leadership. Of course, there are evil people within the organization, just like any other organization. But I grew up in a very close-knit, very loving environment. And so you could imagine the heartbreak, in my later adult years when I started really understanding, like your show says, behind closed doors, what goes on behind closed doors, right? I had this Asian brother that used to study with me from the time I was 5 years old to the time I was 13, went through all the books. I started out with the Paradise Lost book. And then from there was the Book of Bible Stories. And then from there, I went into the Truth book, the Live Forever book, the Worship book, the remake, the United in Worship. Went through the Revelation book like 2-3 times. It got to the point where I studied so many books that it was time for me to get baptized. But at 13 years old, this brother went to Bethel, and that broke my heart. And my life went downhill. I felt like my father, let me down. So in my teenage years, I rebelled. I was totally, in the world, so-called world. And I got involved with a lot of things. I got involved with gangs. I was very depressed because I could never participate in anything to keep me occupied. You couldn't participate in sports. I'm not saying nothing that nobody doesn't know. Everybody's gone through it. You know the drill. You know the story. But I didn't know I was suffering from severe depression and PTSD and all that stuff as an early age. And, went through all kind of abuses within the organization that, I'm just now coming to terms with and have talked to people about. I am a SA survivor. I could tell you that much. And so, there's just a lot of trauma that I experienced. My doggies, this Zeus petting me. But, it's crazy when I was not doing anything with the organization when I was out there, my 15, 16, 17, by that time I had gotten shot. I'd been stabbed. I was going to clubs. I was getting into trouble. I was hanging around the wrong crowd. My mom I didn't know this till years later. She lost all kind of faith in the organization, all of that stuff. And because she didn't get no help with me, my family was treating her like she was disfellowship, even though she wasn't. But, I had seen so much death and so much problems in the world and stuff that when I was, my early 20s, I wanted my mom back. I wanted my family back. My mom, this is going to be hard to say. One day she just told me, look, you do whatever the hell you want. I don't care. And for the first time, she wasn't trying to bring me into the organization or whatever. And that broke my heart. I felt like my mom didn't love me no more. So that triggered me wanting to go back to the organization. And so try to speed up the story a little bit more. I just totally went from one day to the next. I shaved. I got a suit. I put on a suit. I started going to the meetings. I started studying. Within a year, less than a year, I was baptized. about six months later, I moved to New York. I was like 15 minutes away from Brooklyn Bethel. Within that year, I became a ministerial servant, and I just was totally like gung ho, pioneering as much as I can. My mom was just thrilled because she knew I was safe, not getting into trouble anymore. But she did not believe it. I didn't know. She was just happy that I was safe. But I was so persistent, and I was so, I was rubbing shoulders with governing body members. I was always in attendance at all the meetings. I got to know, Brother Sidlick, Brother Barr, a lot of these, Brother Loesch. I started getting to rub shoulders with them, and I knew Bethelites that were very high level within the organization. I was always hanging out at Bethel. I used to go to parties at Bethel, and I was trying to be a Bethelite, but they always would give me a problem or excuse, and so that's a whole nother story. Maybe we could talk about later. But I kind of convinced my mom. She re-drank the Kool-Aid. And so we were both totally all in, drunk the Kool-Aid. I wind up meeting my wife, Gloria. Me and this woman had absolutely nothing in common. She was 12 years older than me, but we had similar goals. And our goal was we were going to try to serve with Anita's Great. They're very picky about who they allow to go to Gilead School and everything. That didn't seem like an option to us. So we were going to go serve in Honduras. So that was the plan. She was in the sign language congregation for many years, and I was learning sign language. So, just trying to be a good JW. What had happened about a year after we were married, we moved to Florida, and my wife wanted to live this charmed elder's wife lifestyle where she just pioneered and didn't work. So, Rick, are you still with me? I hear no reaction. Did I lose you?
I'm right here. I'm listening to your story. I'm very intently involved. I like what you're saying. You're grabbing. So just to give you an idea, you are grabbing the attention. I am here at the control panel in Massachusetts, and I'm looking at a lot of people listening in here. Josh, you're doing great. We're on 8 different platforms right now, so you're getting a lot of interest. People are listening to you, so you continue on. They want to hear more.
Yeah. So, and let me rephrase that. I think I said that a little wrong. My wife, she did try to work and stuff with sign language, but she was not in the witness world, and then things just went south for me. I want to be careful how I say that. But I wound up working 2 jobs to keep things going, and something clicked. We started having car problems, and we used to have to walk to the Kingdom Hall. It was like a 3-4 mile walk. And there was nights where we didn't have money for a cab or anything, and those people let us walk all the way home in the middle of the night, where it took us like 2 hours to make it home walking. The only benefit from that was we got in really good shape. But between working the 2 jobs and struggling and not getting any kind of real help or concern from these elders there, I got very burnt out. I was trying to just be active and everything. And I started losing a lot of sleep. And then I couldn't attend the meetings as much. And, I was working 2 jobs. I was working for Apple at night at a call center, and I was working for Verizon at home. And what had started happening, I started seeing a lot of videos. I wasn't even looking for apostate material or anything like that. But I started seeing a lot of videos about, conspiracy theory, all this kind of stuff. You've all heard it before, David Icke, the lizard people. I was just, actually I was doing some research on hip hop. And as you can see now, a lot of things are being exposed in the entertainment industry about people that are in these secret societies and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really a conspiracy theory person, but I started noticing every time I started watching these documentaries on Netflix or on YouTube about conspiracy theories, Watchtower would come up. A lot of symbolisms and things in Watchtower would come up. And that kind of got me into the rabbit hole, and just learning all these things that I didn't know about before. And then I started seeing the videos. I came across you. So for about a year, I was one of those. They have all these terms now that I'm coming back kind of into the community. PME, PMO. I was physically in, mentally in, but I was trying to do my own research. And I just, once you see certain things, you can't unsee. And I started finding about. I had a close brother in the organization, a brother that did he worked in IT, and he had to do a job in the UN, and he got into an argument with the librarian at the UN because the librarian told him that Watchtower was in their charter or whatever registered, and he was like, that cannot be. So he got into a heated argument with. He almost lost his job behind it because they made a scene. And what he did was he wrote to society about it, and within like a week or so, the Men in Black showed up in the Kingdom Hall. Like these brothers came with suits and stuff. They looked like Men in Black, and they talked to the elders. It was like an unannounced visit, and they put him in the back room, and they like interviewed him and like about all this stuff, and they were very stern with him. And the elder, the presiding overseer, told my friend, if you ever have a problem like this or a question, you don't have to write the society. Just come to us, and we could explain it to you. So they gave him the cocky man made me story about the library card thing, and whatever. So this brother, honestly, he's very brainwashed. He's kind of slow. That was all he needed. He didn't question more about it, but that stuck with me. Because the brother I knew said he saw Jehovah's Witnesses' name as what do they call the NGO and all that kind of stuff. He saw it with his own eyes. And so, I would, back then there was a channel I used to watch. His name was Robert King. I don't know if you remember him, Rick, where he went into the whole UN thing. And so I was learning all this stuff, and I literally went crazy. I thought the apostates got to me, that the demons were affecting me. And what it was, there was so much lack of sleep, and I was taking in all this information, and it affected me with my mental health because I didn't want to believe this. And the more I would try to prove the truth, that it was the truth, the more I would prove to myself that it wasn't the truth. And it was just causing that cognitive dissonance and all that. And then I started seeing your program, and I would call in. And I remember back then I used to cover my face. I looked like a ninja. You could only see my eyes. And I came up with the persona David King. Well, needless to say, as you know, back then I didn't stay hidden for long because I was so angry from being lied to. But the delusions, and I was so depressed and suicidal at the time. Can you imagine a full-grown man showing up in an emergency room saying, telling the staff at the ER that I think I'm possessed by the demons. The apostates have gotten to me. I'm gonna die in Armageddon. You start talking like that, they're gonna think you're nuts. And I was. So I got committed in Florida for a couple weeks, and then my dear mom flew down. She ended a trip in Europe early to come try to take care of me. I had broke my foot while I was in the care of the hospital. They thought it was a good idea as a recreation for me to be playing basketball in my state of mind on a slippery floor, gymnasium floor with socks, and I twisted and broke my foot in 2 places. So literally my mom had to come down to Florida and rescue me, and we had to put things in storage, and just me and my mom and me limping, still no help from the elders. And I went back to New York. When I went back to New York, and I was still listening to Six Screens and stuff like that, I took like a month off and just read the Bible from cover to cover without no Watchtower, without no nothing. And like by then I was totally convinced that this was a cult. And I went through phases. I tried to like hold on to my Christianity. I went through trying to be a born again, to trying to be non-denominational, to I've evolved to so many different religions and different things. You tried to help me out. I started meeting all these kind of people. But the funny part was I was still crazy. One day, I was praying and show me the truth. And I remember one time I saw a flyer. It was like a tract on my car window, but it wasn't from the witnesses. And it was like a tract with a thing saying, we're hearing your prayers. If Jesus, all this stuff about Jesus. Jesus heard your prayer last night. It was very specific, and it freaked me the hell out. And I'm like, how when you're Jehovah's Witness, everything's Jehovah, 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 and Jesus talk is scary. So I'm like, are the demons getting to me? Is Jesus communicating with me? And I totally had this crazy breakdown. And I remember dear old Trudy and her twin sister, the twins, they used to love that clip of me just totally freaking out and begging John Cedars to come save me. I was just, and the thing is, I would go on live on Facebook before there was live. I would make recordings on my phone and upload it, just totally freaking out. Everybody got to see my transformation from being a witness to having doubts to being apostate, in hiding or whatever, to being full-blown activist. So that's where the craziness, and I remember back then I started trying to express myself. One of my dreams growing up, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be into hip hop. So I started making rap songs and stuff. And I don't know where the rhyming came from. I don't know where the songs came from. These are obscure videos that are still on YouTube. But Rick, you were gracious enough to help me. You gave me a voice. You gave me a show, and I took it very seriously. I was very dedicated. And we grew a following, and I started out as still kind of like a believer, but what I did is I totally revealed myself and went DEFCON 4 against the Watchtower. And I know this story is kind of a little long, but fast forward, it went from me being afraid to just from day one, I wanted to start organized protests. I did show up at Brooklyn near Bethel, and we did some organization where we did some protests during an assembly, during a memorial, right there. And I confronted elders I used to know, people I knew, and I was loud. And you've seen some of the videos. It was cathartic. I let my anger out. I've made videos. I've done tons of interviews. Some of the people that I interviewed wound up later being on the Leah Remini show, but I was the first one that was able. They felt comfortable enough and brave enough to tell their story. People like Shannon Rowland. I was the first one to convince her to tell a story, and then she wound up being on the Leah Remini show. So it's been a roller coaster ride. Then there was a time where I kind of ran into some financial trouble, and when I was living in Missouri, and I had to take a night job delivering papers. So driving around, a certain area in Missouri where I was living, delivering papers. It was a grueling job. It was like a full 8-hour job from 12 o'clock at night till 7, 8 in the morning. Sometimes we would, So I needed to stay awake. And my mom supported me and everything. She was a warrior. And so my mom would tag along with me on my paper route. And I had been away from six screens for a while, and then I came back. And so there was a nice long stretch where it was just me and my mom talking, and different people like Pedro, Hidley, I don't know if she's listening, Brian from Canada, I think his name was Brian, dear old John Neglise, rest in peace. I think for a little while, Joe Mason was still around. It was like a motley crew of just different people, different age groups, different backgrounds. I remember there was a guy named Mike that used to be real angry. We used to try to calm him down. That was in Brooklyn, New York, I think. It was just all kind of people from Australia. And it was like a community. And we would stay all night, and we would do all kind of prank calls, and we just had fun. And, as my mom passed away, I realized, my mom had a following, like Carol Paradise. there were people that really enjoyed listening to my mom and talking to my mom on there, and we were just really close. And so, I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't, like I said, I can't tell. The system's different. This is not the video suite like we used to have, so I don't know who's listening. If anybody's really listening, if anybody has any questions, anybody want to ask something, if you want to have any questions for me, Rick, I mean, there's a lot more to say, but I'll just kind of like, I've been talking for a while, so I'll just open it up to you, Rick, or anybody else that has any comments.
Well, I find it very fascinating, Josh, and thank you for sharing that information with us. No, this is a lot bigger than when you were on the video suite. We have hundreds of people right now listening in. Josh Rivera, he had a program. He did it for over, I think it was 2 years that he did it, and we certainly appreciated what he did for the Six Queens, as well as for helping so many people to leave the Watchtower. So listen, why don't you come on and hit *6? Come on, say hello to Josh. We'd love to have you talk to Josh. Well, what's on your mind? What would you like to say? Okay, I'm going to stop this right here. All right. Now, the other thing I want to say is look at the bottom of the screen on YouTube. If you hit that link, that will bring you on, and you can talk to Josh. You don't have to be seen on camera, but let's bring people on via StreamYard. So, Carrios, are you on with us? Carrios, did you want to come on?
I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom, and I don't know if you guys can hear me, but this is Kairos. Josh, hey, I'm grateful for all that you and your mom have done for those of us in the community, and the future work that you're planning on doing with the Lighthouse, I guess, show and services that you guys are planning on doing. So I just want to say thank you and offer my condolences.
Thank you very much, Cairo. Much appreciated. My mom appreciates it, and I'll just give you a quick riff. Thank you for that.
Well, there you go, Josh. So, I mean, people are listening in. They do remember you. I'm reading some things that are going on here behind stage. People have been listening in. They remember your mom, and she was a wonderful woman. She was a wonderful woman, and she supported you. She supported all the people that were speaking up against the Watchtower. I think that was wonderful that she did that. So I want to let you know that we all feel bad for that, but you're going to have a memorial service for her. When do you think that will happen, Josh?
So the date that we're shooting for is June 29th. And the reason why it's a little off, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. I plan to be on for a while tonight, so we could get more into that. But, May, we're almost in the month of May. I pick up my mom's ashes next week. And I want to let everybody know, the only reason I could talk like this right now, I am so high right now on drugs. And what I mean by that, legal drugs, I'm taking a lot of antidepressants. I'm on a lot of anti-anxiety meds. Make no mistake, this is the worst pain. And I thought losing, the Watchtower was the hardest pain I've ever left. And Rick, I wasn't. It took me years to be able to just function. But I wouldn't wish this pain of losing my mom the way I have on my worst enemy. Like, the only reason I'm not breaking down, crying, bawling now is it's the medication. I'm on a special type of medication. It's called Buspirone, and I'm on citalopram and clozapam. I'm on a bunch of stuff, but I'm mentioning this, and it's going to all relate to what we're trying to do tonight. I'm on a medication that many times is used in nursing homes. Like when there's a couple that's in a retirement home, nursing home, and it's when a spouse dies, there's something called abnormal grief. It's a thing where like the grief is like where you're just totally inconsolable, and your pressure's like dangerously high, and your heart rate, and it's like you could literally die from grief. So they have this medication that's not as addicting as some of the other medications out there, that calms your shakiness, your nervousness, your nausea. And it takes away what it does is it stimulates the receptors in your brain that regulate like serotonin, which regulates joy, happiness, and all that. So it triggers that. So I'm on a high dosage of that, and so my anxiety and my stress and my fear and my fight and flight is like way up here. But the medication just brought me down evenly. So that's why I'm able to communicate. But shortly before my mom died, we had a little nest egg. We were trying to move back to the East Coast. We were trying to move back to Florida. And, my mom was in hospice care, but we didn't realize it was framed to us like it wasn't really hospice. It was just a way for my mom to get some of the needed services that she needed. Like, in this room that I'm in right now, there used to be a motorized bed, oxygen machine, IV pole, dialysis machine. Since we didn't qualify for Medicaid, because my mom had her Social Security and her pension, so the government wouldn't give us any other assistance. So all that stuff had to be like out of pocket, and so we just were struggling, but we were able to save up a nice chunk of change to move. But then when her health took a turn to the worst, the hospice people were like, "You need a break. You're burnt out. Go travel, do some things. We got you." So I went on a couple trips. My mom was pushing me to go. She knew she was ready to go. But, it's like it was hospice, but they were telling me, "No, your mom's good. The only thing she has is dialysis. You take such good care of her." So long story short, I kind of brewed through some savings, and I was on an FMLA. I've been on FMLA. I've been on a leave from work for like 3 months. So I wasn't really making the money that I was supposed to make. So when I just got back to working a full week, and then she passed away on the eclipse. So I get hourly, and I work in sales, and I get commissions. So I do pretty well. But it takes a while to build up with that. And we were like a 2-income household, and now she died, and I had to fundraise to pay for her ashes, which was the biggest heartbreak. But I made a live. I expressed myself. I poured my heart out. I told my situation. One thing that my mom was able to do is her death has brought people in my family together that haven't talked in years. She had a falling out with her sisters that never got resolved. We were going to try to resolve it, but unfortunately she passed. But I started, her sisters paid for a cemetery for her to be interred next to my grandmother and 2 of my uncles. So they paid for that, and they're paying for a center to have a memorial service. But there was still a lot of pressure on me to be responsible and take care of her ashes, the death certificate, and all that. So I did that, but now, by the time I get the ashes, the month of May is labor. It's like Memorial Day or something like that. A lot of people have plans, trips, things paid for, and I want certain people to be there for the tribute, for the performance and stuff we're gonna do. So the month of May is kind of shot. And that gives me time to try to catch up and pay rent and try to, just work steady, not miss work. I'm back working now, and try to get money for my plane ticket. I got to go to New York with my mom's ashes. And so what we're doing is we're making the memorial service on June 29th. I just got to get the full confirmation that we could reserve the community center, like where the church is in Roosevelt Island, New York, where she's going to have the service, and that we could get the time at the cemetery and the services that come, because they got to open up the mausoleum where my other relatives are placed, and they're going to place my mom in there. I have a dear friend of mine that is a former boss of mine, and we're now in business together, like to build drums. That's a new business venture I'm in on the side. I don't know if you could see, this is some of the drums I make, So he's a master wood maker, and he's building the urn for my mom, and it's beautiful. And in the urn that we're making for my mom, there's going to be a separate compartment that can open up again where my ashes are going to be interred. So that's happening in June 29th. But to answer your question, sorry for the long explanation. But as the night progresses, if anybody else has something to say, I got some funny stories about my mom and things that she did and things that we used to do. So that's it as far as that's concerned. That's where we're at right now with the service. It's hopefully going to be in June 29th.
Well, in fact, that's good. You had that all planned out, Josh. So looking forward to being part of that. If you'd like to come on, say hello to Josh. Now, Josh has been involved with the Six Queens years ago. So if you'd like to say hello to Josh, my goodness, all you have to do is hit *6 on your telephone pad. Come on, say hello to Josh. Let him know you're listening in here tonight. Give him a little encouragement. My goodness gracious, the poor guy. He's had some real difficulties here in the last week or so. So let's come on and say hello to Josh. You're on with us. Go ahead. Let's speak up. My goodness, I'll tell you what, it's just amazing to me that, this man has been through so much, but he's willing to come back and do a program here on the Six Queens. Well, Josh, I think you're just amazing that you're able to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and move forward. I mean, not a lot of people can do that, but that seems to be the direction that you're heading in. So, what's the impetus? What is the catalyst that's making you want to go forward, Josh?
That's a very good question. And I have, like you said a few times, that there's a lot to be said, and there is a lot to be said. And I'm going to speak from the heart. Nothing that I'm going to say is scripted. But if any, I just wanted to see if there's anybody else listening that had anything to say or question, or any of my old friends, if they're on here that used to listen to me. If you're on, speak up. And if not, I'll just continue.
Yeah, can we get someone to speak up? Go ahead, hit *6 on your telephone pad. I mean, that'll bring you on. We got a number of people on our radio network. So go ahead, hit *6. Say hello to Josh. Let them know that you're on with us. We have a number of people listening in on YouTube, the various platforms. So we'd love to have you talk to Josh. What do you have to say to Josh? You guys know him. He's been on the Six Screens before. Got the program here tonight, a pilot program. He'll be coming on more here on the Six Screens. So why don't you speak up? Go ahead, hit *6 on your telephone pad. Say hello to Josh. Let him know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead. 940, you're on with us. 940, go ahead.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Josh. This is Becky. I'm in North Central Texas. My son and some of my extended family are down there in San Antonio area. I want to let you know that the reason that you're on here is because it's easing to my soul and brings me peace and makes me feel like I'm in a safe place that someone else has been through. Like someone else I know really understands, besides Jesus Christ, but someone knows a bunch of the things I've been through. And I just want to let you know, Josh, that you are here and that you are still making a difference, hon. And I call everybody hon. You know that. I'm from Texas. And I just want to let you know that you make a difference. So does Anne Marie. So does June. So does Fran and Joe. Rick, thank you for staying on this long. Because the fact that you started your program with the words apostate kept me off until I learned the definition. I just want to thank you for sticking in there, buddy. I'm not joking. Josh, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? About sticking in there. You're a Texan, I hope, or you're transplanted, whichever. I'm transplanted.
Well, when you transplant to Texas, after a while, you become a Texan. So, whether you like it or not. So, there's a subculture even of Texans. After Hurricane Maria, a lot in Puerto Rico, a lot of Puerto Ricans moved to Texas, and in Puerto Ricans, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans in the military, and that live on base here in San Antonio, Texas. So there's a term called Texarican. So I've become a Texarican. That's like a Texas Rican. But yeah, I'm so glad to know I have a sister here in San Antonio. I'm gonna shake my maraca. That's just a blessing, you know. That's my Native American side coming out. And yeah, so thank you so much for those kind words. And that's exactly what my mom loved about what I was doing and what she supported. And so you kind of opened up something. So going back into the history of my history with Six Screens, when I learned about all the sexual abuse that was going on and all that kind of stuff, because I'm not trying to say I'm any better or any different, but I'm a type of person that left the organization not because of any kind of sin or because, you know, I cheated on my wife or I smoked a cigarette, none of that. It was because of the false doctrines, you know what I'm saying? And the anger, and then, you know, the two witness rule, all that kind of stuff. And when I started realizing the amount of people that were shut in, cut off from the world, cut off from society, just waiting to die at Armageddon, that really, you know, I got overwhelmed with so much sadness and desperation for the people that were apostates, and Rick knows this. And you know, I would cry on camera. This is before live existed, and I was wanting to be this defender and of people that, you know, that didn't have a voice. That's why I said I felt hypocritical. I was like, I can't keep hiding my face, you know. And I was like, F what the world, what my family thinks, what the Jehovah's Witnesses think, what the governing body thinks. So I would shock a lot of people. And but there was a lot at that time. There was a lot of people committing suicide, and that would have me very concerned. So I had started a group. Well, I tried to join several groups that dealt with PTSD because I had gotten diagnosed with PTSD. And when I would go in these groups, so like I'm green, I don't know nothing about the XJW community. I'm still thinking I'm an apostate in a bad way. You know, I was still thinking, what if I'm wrong? Going through all that. And so I started joining these groups, and I'm like, you know, this is going on, help with it. And I got like attacked by ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, like, oh, what are you doing? You're triggering me. Everybody's like, you're triggering me, or you're you know, you're crazy. You know, not all ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are crazy. You're making us look bad. I was getting all these like negative, you know, from the community. And I just thought that people weren't understanding what I was going through, where I was coming from. Because at the time, my mom was still a witness, and I wasn't sure if she was gonna shun me or not. And that was one of my biggest fears. And my wife was a witness, and I didn't know what was gonna happen with my marriage. So I was dealing with, and then like I've had years. Like at the time, I had 300 friends on Facebook. I know now that's no big deal, but this is in the early days of Facebook. Those 300 friends weren't just Facebook contacts. These were actually witnesses and relatives that I knew. People, when we lived near Bethel in Brooklyn, whenever there was visitors from other countries, they would stay in our home. You know, we would do hospitality. So I had friends all over the world. And when you're in the organization, you really think those are you consider them just like your blood family. So when I came out and made my announcement that I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness no more, I was watching my friend list count, like bloop, 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 just boop, 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 people unfriending. That was like a big blow. But before I made my announcement, I reached out to the XJW community saying, look, I'm going to come out fully. And, you know, this was kind of in the early days of a lot of this stuff. People didn't do that. It's not like now where everybody has a YouTube channel, everybody has a different thing. And, you know, the Six Screens and other platforms, they supported me and they posted things of support. But since I felt so misunderstood, I started a group called XJW's Real Understanding for PTSD, Anxiety, and Depression. I started that Facebook group, and it just like boom, 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 boom. People started joining like crazy. And I had a group of really good moderators. As a matter of fact, the same moderators have been on there for like almost 10 years. But in the last year and a half or so, I've lost touch with quite a few, but there's still a couple still there. And let me tell you, that group we've never ever had an issue with debates or people debating, doctrine or people attacking anybody. It's always been a safe place of love, understanding, support. And I'm proud to say, I can't tell you the amount of, because I always had people always different times and shift, just, kind of monitoring the page. And we have prevented so many suicides on that page. There was one lady, I think her name was Rona, that overdosed and stuff. And she was talking to certain people and with different people coordinating. I don't even know what state she was in. I think Michigan or whatever. We were able to, call, the police and do a wellness check, and they found her and was able to resuscitate her. So I felt a big responsibility to that page. And I've gone through phases where I don't want to deal with XJW. I don't want to be in the community. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And then I come back, but I always kept that page open. And I know there's people out there that have used that page to post their videos, to promote their platforms. I've even had people from other cults go to that page. There's somebody from the from the Amish that go through shunning. They're always posting in there. And that page is still open to today. It's called XJW Real Understanding for PTSD, Anxiety, and Depression. And, it started like in 2015. So it's almost 10 years old now. And, my mom and I, we had this feeling like, we felt so lost and abandoned when, she finally did leave the organization for me. And shortly after she left the organization, she needed a blood transfusion. So had I not left the organization at that time, I would have lost my mom like 15 years ago. And it was the scariest thing for her to do the blood transfusion. I know Rick, I'm dreading to ask Rick this question, but I know Rick, if he works really hard, he'll find. My mom did an interview on Six Screens where she talked about leaving the organization and how much she loved me and how much she supported me. But even after leaving the organization, one of the most nerve-wracking things was for her to celebrate her birthday for the first time. She was petrified of it, even though she did not believe in the organization or anything. It was a scariest thing for her to do a blood transfusion. Thankfully, she had several after that, and after a while, she didn't care. It was like she couldn't believe how brainwashed she was. It was just a routine thing to keep you alive. But we were always worried about people that felt lost without a community, shut in. And there's people that, like we met people, I started learning about different disorders, people with agoraphobia, because, RTS. We were one of the first people to start talking about RTS syndrome, religious trauma syndrome. Dr. Marlene Weinell and the work she's doing. And she's helped a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. She's an ex-Mormon, I think, but she's very knowledgeable. She has a retreat that she does where, she's helped a lot of people that have been disfellowshipped kind of heal and recover. I think we interviewed her once on there. So the thing is, fast forward to right now, I've been doing so much activism, not only with the XJW community, but with other things that I'm passionate about. And, my worldviews have changed and gone back and forth, and I've evolved because I've had to develop a lot of critical thinking, and, I'm not involved with a lot of things that I used to be. I'm more into cultural things, healing things, music, percussion. But the reason I'm coming back because, with all the changes and all the things going on in the organization right now, I think it's interesting, but I want to be very clear, and I hope I'm not misunderstood. I've expressed all I could express as far as anger, and hatred for the horrible things that go on because of this cult, I still want them to be held accountable. I still love it when these pedophiles get arrested, and I love seeing all the exposés and everything. I don't even feel like I'm an XJW anymore, but I'll go ahead and say I'm an XJW to give it honor, because I can't forget where I came from, with the way they helped me. But my concern is more for the people that have left and are trying to move on with their lives, that are trying to make sense of the world, that are trying to um, deal with things that I'm dealing with. And so, like, even though there's people that I could meet and there's friends I've made, there's a certain aspect of me of a certain type of pain that I'm going to describe, that unless you were a former Jehovah's Witness, you're not going to understand. You know, so it's like, what I started to realize, this is the point. I was able to do so much with my podcast that I used to have after I left Six Screens and started trying to do things more on my own, and even while I was on Six Screens, and doing, I've invested, I've fundraised for people, invested in people, took people in. We've done a lot of things, and it's not me bragging, but we were able to do a lot of things for people that were really in trouble. And I realized, Josh, you're one of those people. I forgot that I don't want to sound like a victim, but I'm a person that's been traumatized by the organization, and then without a community, and I'm living in a state that I don't really have relatives, and I've been so busy taking care of my mom, I haven't been able to build a life here. So I'm all alone in a place that I'm not from, and all my support and the people I know is mostly online, people I met. If it wasn't for Six Screens, I have some really good friends that are like family, that I forget that I met them on Six Screens, that I've gotten to know in real life. And some of these people used to listen to Six Screens, but never used to say anything until I came on, and then you'll hear them pop up, like Caleb. Some of you know who Caleb is. And so I realized, you know what, even though I'm not as interested in like exposing I want to expose the Watchtower, but I think there's so many other people that do such a good job. There's so many YouTube channels that do such a good job with their graphics and their imagery and their cutscenes and their special effects. You have Rick doing his thing, so it's like I feel like I don't have anything to add to that. Really, I could add a little bit, but it's just overkill. There's nothing I can say about the beards, about the skirts, about the not reporting time, about saying hello during the memorial to disfellowship people that you guys have not already heard. But, there's people out there, and maybe some of them will listen to them because of health reasons, not having support after leaving the organization, not having any family, not having any friends, having, all kind of issues that, they're shut into their apartments, or, I remember there was a guy that used to call us from his nursing home, and they don't have the screen on their tablet, their laptop, their phone. That's their window into the world. And I realized, wow, I'm shut in, because I'm afraid to go out of my house. I have so much anxiety. Yes, I work, I go out, and I have to make a living, but I'm dealing with this pain. And, towards the very end, that's a few weeks before my mom died, my mom went on live. Right when Rick was saying he was going to change the hours of his show, a lot of people panicked. People called me, hey, are you going to do a show? Rick is cutting things off early. So I did a couple broadcasts, and my mom was on. And so my mom loved the communication. I don't want to use the word association, but she loved, even if sometimes she was too sick to participate, she loved that I was reaching out to other people, that there were elderly people calling in, there were young people that were calling in, there were people that were being shunned calling in, and they didn't feel alone. And so I am a person that was able to receive some help. And had it not been for the years of me being online with the community that I've had, like, it hasn't always been a rosy relationship. There's been times, and I want to address that later, I wouldn't have got some of the help and support I needed. And so I said, you know what? I'm doing this so that I don't have time to be in so much sorrow and grief. I'm literally in the room where my mom spent her last days. I'm looking at the bathroom where they found her on the floor collapsed. I'm looking to the left here. I don't know if you can see. This is her scooter, her mobility scooter she had that I had to save up and buy for her. And I'm not totally freaking out and losing it because I feel like my mom's with me and I'm doing something positive that's going to keep my mind active and that she would have liked for me to do. She liked it. I don't think my mom ever even told me, listen, you need to do something else, get a life, you're overdoing it. She always felt like that if we're helping people not feel alone and abandoned, and look at it now, and I want to talk about this a little bit. Me and Rick Fearon have not been on good terms for a couple years, really. And when this happened to me, one of the first things, something came to me that I got to call Rick because I realized, I said, man, you know, Rick was the beginning of everything. Six Frames was the beginning of everything of where I'm at now. And I started realizing, it's not all about you, Josh. It's, my mom was a big part of this. My mom was there the whole time. So like, I forget my mom had a following. It wasn't me. It was the fact that it was me and my mom coming out of the organization and getting brave enough to self-identify and disassociate ourselves and all that. And so there's people, and then people told me, when I would get condolences, people would tell me how much they love my mom and how much they had missed my mom when I kind of stopped doing everything. So I called Rick, and Rick was immediately, even before you know what happened, he was just so happy to hear from me. And, because of Rick, now I'm going to be able to have a memorial service for my mom. And there's going to be some Jehovah's Witnesses that are going to be in attendance, it looks like. And we're going to have our say. It's not going to be confrontational, but we're going to have our say. And it's curious that this happened. My mom passed shortly when they adjusted the memorial, the disfellowshipping communication rules. And so I want to talk, later on in the night, I want to talk about another topic because when I was backstage, I was listening about a situation that's going on with Rick and the Six Screens, and a woman that's kind of not too happy with Rick now and things that are being said. And I want to address the elephant in the room about our situation that happened, which is water under the bridge. But I want to be transparent and not act like nothing happened. And so this is about healing, and we'll go from there. So, Rick, any thoughts on what I said? I don't know if I'm just over speaking or if anybody else is listening. Anybody there? If nobody's speaking, I'm going to play my drum until somebody says anything. Okay, so hit *6 to unmute yourself. I know I can't be the only one that's on here. I think I hear somebody. Go ahead.
*6, go ahead. Come on, say hello, Josh. Josh is on the program tonight.
Hello, Josh.
Yes.
Hi, this is Susan, Rick's wife.
Hey, Miss Susan, sister. I can't believe it's you. So many years. So nice to hear from you.
I'm so glad that you got in touch with Rick. I was so sorry to hear about your mom, and it made me sad, but I'm sure glad that you turned to Rick and, let us know what's happened, and we're glad to, know, kind of be reminded about your mom a little bit. We hadn't thought about her in a while. So it's nice to have you back, and I'm glad that we can help you with your situation with your mom.
Absolutely. Susan, I'll never forget. I have a really nice memory. I have two fond memories of you. one of the first memories. I've never said this to anybody, but something that you really helped me years ago with something. I remember when I was trying to build up the courage to just stop doing all these mental gymnastics in my mind to justify the watchtower. And I remember I was talking about different interactions I was having with elders while I was like going back and forth deciding whether I was going to leave or stay, and shepherding calls and all this kind of stuff. And I remember I said that something clicked in me where I just didn't recognize their authority anymore, like to the point where like I don't need to even disassociate myself later. Like you mean nothing. You are nothing. You are just men. You're janitors. You're window washers. You're not. You're in this hall with briefcases and suits and ties, but you mean nothing. And I remember somebody said a quote one time: uh, "Getting this fellowship from the Watchtower is like getting this fellowship from McDonald's. It means nothing. In the real world, it means nothing. You are nothing. You're a cult. You men don't have any authority over me or my self-worth." And I remember I was talking about that, and you just came out of nowhere, and she's like, "That's right." And you're like, you were talking about a time where you found some records in the congregation, or you found some stuff and everything, and like how like you walked in, and I don't even know if you remember telling me this, but you said that like you felt the same sense of empowerment when you realized that these elders had no authority whatsoever. I don't know if you remember that, but when you said,
Maybe vaguely, but I remember talking to you a number of times, and I always remember how you were just improving just daily almost in your walk away from the watchtower. And I was
yeah.
really glad to see your journey out of the watchtower, because they didn't deserve you. The watchtower did not deserve you.
And then the second fond memory I have of you is one day, you know, I decided to get dressed up in a suit. I
I
think I think
remember.
it was shortly after I gave my last talk on the ministry school, but I got dressed up in a suit. No, it wasn't even that. I just wanted to like change my profile, and I got dressed up in a suit, and I had my tie on. I looked like such a JW, but I had facial hair. Now I would look like how the JWs look now. And I remember he said, "You look like you are on it. You were like just like giving me all these compliments." You were saying like you are like a man that means business. You were just like just making a big fuss. And I remember you had me blushing, and it was just so funny. Like everybody was shocked to see me dressed in a suit because I would always have bandanas or the crazy hat. I'm only wearing this hat, because I had this fake name. I forgot what we used to call them when you were like hiding. This is before the days where they used to have Pimo and all this stuff. I forgot the term we used to use, but like I used to always have little hats and stuff, and people knew me as David King. So I did say I did not want this broadcast to be like the memorial for my mom or sad or somber. I did want to acknowledge and talk about it, but I kind of thought just being on here and talking and maybe reconnecting with some people. I don't know who else is going to be on. I thought that would be good for me, therapeutic for me. And yeah, I see myself smiling. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I just feel like my mom approves of what I'm doing, and I'm glad I'm talking to you. So thank you.
Well, I know your mom loved being your mom. I know she did. She loved you, and she was proud of you, and she was always there for you. That's what one thing I really loved about your mom. She was always there for you.
For everything. For everything.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to get in touch with you again, and
I'm going to give you a drum riff in my mom's honor and her spirit, okay? It's going to be a quick thing. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if when I beat my drum, you guys could hear it or not.
Yeah, we can hear it. Carol, you want to come on? Go ahead, Carol. I just see you on the screen here. Go ahead, Carol. You're on with us. Go ahead. We want to hear from Carol. Go ahead, Carol.
Hi, Josh. Thank you, Rick. I just want to say, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, Carol.
And
Carol Paradise, right?
Huh?
Carol Paradise?
Carol Paradise.
Yes. So my mom, you had a special place
You
in
know,
my mom's heart. She loved talking to you. Before you get started, I gotta take my maraca, my mom's spirit for you. Thank you. Go ahead, Miss Carol.
you know what? There's a little bit of problem. I'm watching you on YouTube, and it's so much clearer. On the phone, it's like really hard for me to hear. But I want to tell you something, hon. I have watched you from the time you got on Six Screens. I watched your journey through that. I watched your leaving. I watched you go on the streets of New York. I watched you do small protests, handing out things to the people on the streets, your meetups. I've watched your journey, trying to find your roots. Your mom gave you a gift of understanding, love, compassion. And the last gift she gave was you coming back to us. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I always believe that out of every tragedy, something good comes from it, always. And this here is your gift, her gift to you and to us. And I appreciate it so much. Along with that, I will say, your the medication you're on now is wonderful. It's balancing you out. Something you didn't have before. There's your gift, and that's from your mom.
Yeah. There's other things that very beautiful things that my mom did for me that I didn't know she did before she died. That I want to get into because then I will probably start bawling and stuff. But
I know, Joshua.
You are 100% correct in what you're saying about my mom and I want to address the elephant in the room. So part of my hurt, my deep I want people to understand leaving Jehovah's Witnesses in a lot of ways, and I don't want to sound bad, but the hurt was so deep, and I was almost as inconsolable when I left JW as losing my mom. Because Jehovah, their version of Jehovah was real to me, like as real as somebody standing right in front of me. Like I saw him, and it really, my mom saw how much I struggled and how hurt I was. And the thing is, I was so close to my family. I was so close to people in the organization, even at high levels. So it was like going through hundreds of deaths at one time for me. I was grieving death, and it took years to get to this point. And what I'd give to just get that pain back again and not have this pain that I have with my mom. Because, of course, there's no comparison. But in my skin, it felt like losing a parent when I lost, the touch with the organization. And even when I was doing meetups and stuff, you're dealing with so many people who are, gay, people who are atheists, people who are born again Christian, and it all seems so weird and foreign. And it's just like learning not to be judgmental, learning to be open-minded. And what you got to understand, what I hope, and I don't think people will understand, and I hope Rick can understand. For a person like me, you know, I mean, I'm a black man, but I am biracial. My mom's Puerto Rican, my father's African American. The type of upbringing where we've had to deal with so much racism and different things, and that I had to deal with growing up, and hidden racism that we experienced in the organization, that we always used to just rely on Jehovah and stuff like that. You know, when other people, I think when a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses go out in field service and stuff to offer like a better way, you know, a new system, uh, you know, comfort, you know, the resurrection, or just especially when they talk about like oppression and the governments, you know, we grow up always bashing the governments, how evil they are, and how Jehovah's going to destroy the governments and bring a new system in paradise. So for people like me, my civil rights movement was the Watchtower. When I was going door to door on service, the people I would study with, the people in the prison I would study with, are people that, you know, things that maybe are not as important to some white friends are really important to me, like police brutality, unarmed black men, women, and children getting killed by police. I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-police brutality, you know? And there was just so much fear. You know, when Trayvon Martin got killed, that was blocks away from my house. I was living in Orlando at the time. And I wasn't fully out of the organization. And then I wanted to join. I wanted to speak out. I wanted to talk about it in field service. And the elders forbade me from even talking about it in field service. So when I left the organization, there was just such a fear, because my solution to the problems in the world, the conflicts, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement started. My solution used to be the Watchtower. And there was a gap, there was a hole in there. And I felt like I had to do something. I had this mentality like, okay, I got baptized, I dedicated myself to God. Unfortunately, there was a cult, but I felt like, but the baptism's still there. I'm still a witness. So a witness bears the truth. So I'm going to tell the truth. So I replaced the Watchtower with activism. And I was in these streets, and I became a Black Lives Matter organizer. I don't believe in any of that stuff now. I still believe that, yeah, of course, you know, Black lives should matter. But I was in the beginning. What I started doing is I didn't know people were going to follow me. But in Missouri, I got so active organizing people and speaking out. So you have this guy that's a trained public speaker for the organization, but with a bullhorn. I never shot a gun in my life, but I had a 9mm on my hip, and I was calling out police, and I was calling out, you know, racists, and I was confronting the actual Ku Klux Klan in Missouri. They would show up in my rallies, you know, and, you know, I got involved with the Unitarian Church. And it was just because I had this pain, and that became my field service. And they couldn't understand how I could organize groups of people and canvass neighborhoods. There was a family that some racists had broke their windows and spray painted swastikas on their front door, and broke this poor lady's car windows. And she was a disabled woman with two boys that were scared to come out of their basement. You know, they got attacked by racists. And so I canvassed the neighborhood guardian angel style, and it was televised, and it was on the news. And I started getting some exposure on the news in Missouri and in St. Louis, where I was at. And I started getting connected politically. And people were like, well, where do you get this training to bring these people? I was applying Watchtower tactics to that. And then I even got approached by Senator McCaskill. She's a Democratic senator in Missouri. I don't trust any politicians. They're all full of baloney. But at the time, like, I started getting high-level people approaching me, asking me to run for city council and stuff like that. And I got invited to the Democratic National Convention that was being held in Missouri there for the state house and all that kind of stuff. And I was like sitting at a table with all the politicians. And it was because of, the training I got in the Watchtower. I used it towards that. Why am I telling you all this stuff? Again, remember, this is a person that has a hole that's trying to make a difference in the world. I don't have the organization anymore, but I have my voice, and I'm trying to speak for immigrants. I'm trying to speak for people of color. I'm trying to speak for the LGBT community. I'm trying to help. So one night I get a call, and I hear that there's this person calling a Puerto Rican woman on 6 screens lazy, calling her the bitch word, calling her the N word. You know what I'm saying? And I get all these calls. I don't even call the 6 screens like that. I get on there and I hear the guy using all kind of racial slurs and stuff like that. And so it's a special kind of pain you feel when it's like your own brothers and sisters, your supposed own brothers and sisters using that kind of language. And I was very angry because I heard it with my own ears. I remember I was in the car with my mom. My mom was crying. She was angry. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. And one thing about me, I don't like to see my mom hurting. And that's why I went off every profanity you could think of. And I just felt that Rick wasn't hearing me. I didn't feel heard by you, Rick. And I couldn't believe in my outrage, you were just like, oh, let's just all, settle down. Let's just all. And I feel like there should be zero tolerance for that kind of thing. I'm not saying I'm all for free speech and everything, but like calling people the B word, calling them the N word, and then, I remember Rick told me that I should apologize. So that's what it was a special kind of hurt, because I love you, Rick. And like, I just felt like, you didn't care or empathize with the pain I was feeling. And that's why I was so angry for so long, because it wasn't the first time. And in the XJW community, when a lot of Black XJWs express themselves or talk about issues that are affecting us, we get attacked a lot of times by JW saying, oh, you're just being political, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Oh, why does everything have to be about race? Because there's a lot of challenges that you have to face when you leave the organization. But when you leave the organization in your 40s as a person of color with no education, because you couldn't go to college and everything, that's when you start realizing, imagine all the things you have to deal with coming out of the organization, but being a person of color, the challenges that go there. There's people that feel like that there is no such thing, that racism doesn't exist, or that you're just making everything about race. So there's a certain type of skin you have to build, where I don't have the fight in me anymore to convince people about the things that affect people of color that leave the organization. But I feel like we're a very underserved community within the XJW community. And so now that I got that out of the way, one of the things I want to say, it looks like there's some other thing going on between Rick and somebody else. And I just want to say that, many of us are in very many different stages of healing. I know I could have handled that situation a little bit better too, especially afterwards. I'm just explaining where this anger and rage came from. It came from a place of love, because if I didn't love Rick, if I didn't love the Citrines, I wouldn't have reacted that way. And I'm sorry, because I'm going to say I'm sorry because a lot of people over the years have expressed that they felt like abandoned when I stopped doing the show or stopped, working with 6 screens. It's okay. Not everybody's going to agree on a lot of things, but I just try to do certain things a certain way. But as far as the situation that you're going through, many of us are in many different stages of healing. Many of us, myself included, do have mental issues due to this religion. And sometimes there's misunderstandings where I just think sometimes we don't feel hurt. And there's the old saying, hurt people tend to hurt people. And I realized I'm only human. I'm part of that. I was hurt and I was hurting people. I wanted to hurt people because I was feeling hurt, because I felt like I wasn't being heard or taken or given validation. I'm here saying all this now. I love the fact that people were calling in about this person. I forgot her name, saying that they still love her, that they know she's gonna work through it and everything's gonna be okay. I like that Rick's saying that he's not gonna respond in kind and is just hoping that she's okay. I'm gonna pray for her too, because things come around. Because when the shit hits the fan, excuse me my language, when you lose a relative or you lose a family, you have to go. You have to remember who's your family, and that's what I'm trying to do now. On a positive note, one of the things and the initiatives that I want to do with my new Lighthouse Foundation group podcast that I'm eventually going to be doing on my own, and it's not going to conflict with this. I want to make it so that many of us activists like Rick and others that I know are doing shows and doing different things that branched off from this, just like I did. I think I was the first one to branch off and do my own thing. Now I hear that there's another couple that usually is on now. You have Apasta Bay, Linda James. She's doing, I'm seeing a lot of people doing their own thing, which is good. I know that's what Rick always wanted, for people to do their thing. So it's not all just him. But one of the things that I really want to develop is, as the Lighthouse, if you're an extra Jehovah's Witness, even if we don't agree on a lot of things or whatever, whether it's politics, whatever, I want people to know that there's going to be a space where if a relative dies and you're not invited to the funeral because you're disfellowship, or if you pass away, or if things are, different situations that you need help, you need support. What's being done for me, like Rick is going to help me broadcast my mom's memorial service so that other people like Carol could attend from the comfort of their home, so that they can, even if they want to speak, you know what I'm saying? Like when Joe Mason died, I didn't find out Joe Mason died until months after it happened, because I was doing all this other crazy stuff. I would have loved to be attended a service for him. I visited Joe Mason with my then girlfriend at the time and spent time with him and his partner, and we went and had barbecue. We had a wonderful time. We were really good friends. And so I want people to know, and Rick and I kind of talked, on a surface level about that, but I know he's all for it. And from what I understand, he's done that before for people that have passed on. So I just want people to know that this is a place that you're going to be able to go to, where you're going to be remembered. Your contributions to the world, to this life, the sacrifices you did for the organization when you thought it was the truth, that counts too, because you did it in honesty and sincerity. And the things you've done after you leave the organization. So this is going to help my family that are not Jehovah's Witnesses kind of get into a window in what my mom's final years were, because they didn't really understand what we were going through. And this will be a way for any of you that want to speak up at my mom's funeral that knew her, to honor her. She would have loved that, because we honestly did not think we were going to I honestly thought my mom was going to be cremated and she was just going to be in a section, in an altar in my house and for the rest of my life. I didn't know I was going to get all this help and comfort. So I think I hope people understand where I'm coming from. There's conflict that happens sometimes, but you never know when you're going to go. And the worst thing is for somebody to die and pass away and you not resolve, especially in our community, whatever differences you have. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, Rick. I don't know if you're still on listening, whoever's listening, but anybody has any comments or anything they want to add, *6 to unmute yourself.
Well, I'm still here with Josh, so just kind of hanging in here with you. So let's go to 302. 302, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
Can you all hear me? Hey, Josh. I want to say that all right. I just wanted to say that I've enjoyed, listening to you tonight. And I want to say, first of all, I'm sorry about your mom. And something you said a few minutes ago, I've been listening in and out because I've been cooking some food here. But something you said a few minutes ago, I don't remember exactly what it was, made me think about something that Joe and Fran texted me earlier today. And I don't know, you probably heard about Joe and Fran if you've been, following Rick. They used to have a story on a show on Rick's show called The Outside Story. And now they're on a different channel, but it's still called The Outside Story. And well,
Let me cut you there for a second. Actually, I do know of them. I'm really good friends with Linda James of Pasta Babe. So I've heard about all the wonderful things that they've been doing, and there's some people behind the scenes that want to introduce me to them formally, and I've been told that they're gonna suggest I come on their show. But yes, I am familiar with them. So go ahead.
okay, great. Yeah. Well, I just happened to have the good fortune to meet them in person a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago in Bethesda, Maryland, at a meetup, and it was a really good experience. But I do keep in contact with them, you know, every now and then. And they had a text, unfortunate text that was sent to them about their children last week, and I wanted some more clarification on that from them, so I asked them to send me the text, and they did. And you know, I just said back to them that I said that, you know, I said thanks for sending that. That I said I wouldn't have put it past my own parents to be this arrogant and hostile. And I said, growing up with this, no doubt had a significant impact on my life and emotional well-being. And I said, I always wished I would have left the cult sooner. And I said, I wish that their kids is going to leave the cult and see the light, you know, at some point in the future. And then they responded back to me. They said, no one makes our personal identity. We all stand on the edge of it, and ones like the Watchtower shove us in their direction. And then they said, we resist. So I thought that was comforting to me.
Not only is that comforting, that's powerful. And one of the things that I learned in meeting different people, different ages, being on cis screens is like, and I'm gonna say this, Susan, Rick's wife, you know, I remember her mentioning this thing about being empowered. It takes a special type of grit and determination, even if you want to get scriptural with it. You know, like Timothy said, you have to have a spirit of not of cowardice, but of bravery. I know I'm probably butchering the scripture, but to be able to pull yourself out of the control of the Watchtower, to be able to break away and to like, because like, not only did I have to break away, it was hard to convince myself that it wasn't the so-called truth. Any cult is just, it's just an amazing thing. One of the things that you made me realize or think about in relation to my mom, I know I had a special gift that my mom did not choose the cult over me. And so that's the privilege I have that a lot of people don't have. But I saw how my mom losing her family because she was supporting her son, how sick that made my mom and how much hurt that caused my mom. And I couldn't help but sometimes feel guilty. And so my mom and I went back and forth. I felt guilty and responsible for her losing her faith or for her losing communication with her family. And she felt this deep regret and sorrow that, like, I'm so sorry I raised you like this. You know, you missed out on your prom. I'm so sorry you missed out on your education. I'm so sorry you missed out on your dreams, your talent, your art because of me. You know, you're 50 years old now. You're not married. You know, you're struggling. You're working so much hard jobs. Like, she always felt so responsible. And then my mom would always feel so bad. It's like she wished she would have woken up earlier. So here she is. When she woke up, she was in her 60s, 70. There's like a lot of noise here. I don't know what's going on, Rick. But she died at 70. Whoever's making that noise, if you could mute, please.
I'm sorry, Josh, just hold on 1 second. What happens is the phone line cuts off here every 6 hours. So let's get the phone line back on. Go ahead, just keep talking.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep this. What happens? The phone line gets cut off every 6 hours.
Okay, no problem. I get it. But people are still seeing me on YouTube or whatever, right?
Yeah, they're still on YouTube. Yeah. So
my mom.
Welcome into the live.
Go ahead.
My mom always felt like, what a waste of my life, what a waste of my time with this organization. So I used to always have to console her. I said, Mom, no, you know, you instilled certain things that I learned from the Bible, from the organization and me, that even though we've evolved in our beliefs and everything, that made me the type of man I am. And my mom personified kindness and stuff. I have to be honest, a lot of the good things I learned a lot of good things from being a witness. But I realized, that the Watchtower the Watchtower made us feel like they had the monopoly on good things that are good or morals or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They had us believing that they were the only ones that knew God's name was Jehovah. So this is the point I wanted to make. So I had to explain to my mom. I said, Mom, you had me real young. We were both brainwashed. Both of us. We were both victims. There was a time where you kind of woke up and you just came back in because you saw me come in and you wanted to support me, and you kind of convinced yourself of the brainwashing again because you didn't want me to be out there in the world and into gangs and stupidity I was in. So we both had to reassure each other that we were both victimized and we both forgave each other for things because we were both affected by the cult. So I'm expressing this from my heart, to try to support you in what you said. I hope you see the correlation. But I think your name was, you said your name is Aaron. I'm sorry, what was your name, sir? Brother, I don't know if you're reconnected, but, make sure, Rick, you tell me the guy's name. I would love to just continue to,
But they can't do nothing because you're not breaking the law. Right. So, I mean, that's what I think I would do in that situation. I haven't been uninvited from something like that. And that's probably why it's probably why my father did not want a memorial service. He had already faded out and stuff. But I'm talking about my nephew here, and that's what he had to face. And I have a grown nephew who's 10 years younger than me because my older sisters are older. But I'm like, my poor baby is crying. Why is my poor baby crying? Because he's one of my babies, babysitter right here. So I was a family babysitter. That was a lot of kids.
So, hello, sister. Are you listening in? Can you hear me right now?
Oh, good. Okay, we can hear Rick.
We're back with Josh again. The phone line goes off. Go ahead, finish up, then go back to Josh. Go ahead, finish up, sister.
No. Oh no, I was just talking to Aaron. Aaron and me were talking. I'm muting myself. Y'all go.
All right. Well, let's go back.
I want to acknowledge what the sister said, and absolutely, you said that there was a reason why I think you said your nephew wouldn't want a memorial service because he already faded. Well, my mom faded. She was never disfellowship, and we're gonna do a memorial service for her. So I want to just encourage people to know that when they do pass on, we don't know what's going to happen on the other side, but that I think as former Jehovah's Witnesses, as XJWs, whatever you want to call us, members on the six screens, who you follow, we should be able to come together and honor those who have been in the struggle together. So this is exactly why something like this exists, and where we could give a person the honor that the Watchtower will not give somebody who passes on. I remember before the sister started talking, I think, Rick, you were going to say something.
Josh?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
A minute ago, you said something about not leaving things unsaid, because we never know when our time is going to be up. And there's always been something. I saw a movie one time, a long time ago, about this guy that was dying in a car accident, and he requested that they, his family was there, but before he died, he wanted to just say something to his wife. And she came over there, and he just wanted to let her know how much he loved her. And
and they were able to say they loved each other before he passed away, because as soon as they, well, anyway, suddenly, but I've always made it a habit because we don't ever know when we're gonna take our last breath. When I walk out the door, well, I live here, so it's just me. When my daughter walks out the door to go back to her house, I tell her I love her. And now she says, well, for a long time she didn't say it back, but now she says it back to me. Or if I don't say it fast enough, she tells me she loves me. And I do that with each of my granddaughters also, and with my brother, and anybody that I really do love. I always let them know that I love them. And one of the reasons is because I want to make sure that if that's the last thing I've ever said, that the last thing that person I just talked to, that's what they heard from me, that I love them. And if I'm dying, I want to. I don't want to die, but if you're gonna die, it is so much more comforting to know.
Debbie, is that Debbie?
Yeah.
Debbie, you have been such an encouragement to me. This is Becky, and I appreciate what you're saying right now. And I mean, you're supposed to honor your mother and father. What do? Just say, okay, see you later. I tell my grandkids and stuff, when I leave, I'm hugging them, and I look at them straight in the eye, and I said, if there's a crack in the planet, I'll be looking for you on the other side. You gonna be looking for me? And they say, yes, ma'am.
Well, my grandkids all grown up, and two of them's expecting their own baby. I mean, I'm about to be a great grandma, but I do always try to all conversations and everything with "I love you," because I just think if you're dying, that's the best thing to hear before you go, and that's the best thing for leave them thinking from you.
Yeah. If they say "I love you," you go, "I love you more," and they go, "I love you more and more." I said, "I love you more and more and more to infinity and beyond." Bye.
You kind of got that saying that I've got is at night. I always told them, "I love you to the moon and back," and to
of course,
beyond till the 12th of never. And I just kept adding to it, but now I got great grandbabies on the way.
You and me are both huggers, and I've been watching you, Debbie. We're both huggers. I can tell.
Yeah, I'm different. Well, we're both Southerners too.
Yeah, true.
But anyway, gosh, thank you for sharing.
The other day when you got the chair and everything, I was so happy for you. But we're talking about Josh. Josh.
No, we're talking about all of us. It's about all of us. It's about all of us.
Okay, good. But
my mom,
the next thing
was all about the people. She was all about.
Yeah.
She loved being on, and she loved hearing about people and what they were going through and what their day was going through. And I just want to make sure that people understand that my mom and I's goal, a lot of times, we just really appreciated, like, for the people that were shut in, that didn't get to go out much, like just building that bond and that camaraderie and that community. And it's like, I don't want to use the Watchtower bastardized certain things. So they used to call it the spiritual paradise, the security amongst Jehovah's people and all that. But, I always felt like we should find some kind of way to have that sense of security and love amongst ourselves, and not feel so alone, because there's some people face it like they really don't have anybody.
Well, that's true. That's what I was talking to Aaron about earlier on the chat. Earlier when everything went blank, I told him, I said, my oldest nephew, the oldest grandchild, he has an extended family, and his stepsister died, and he's calling me and saying,
they didn't even send me an invitation. I called them and they uninvited him. Okay, they never invited him, but they uninvited him to the funeral because he hasn't been associated with the witnesses for like, a long time. And he was like, "And Becky," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, one of my babies is crying. He's crying. What do I do? What do I do?" Because I was the babysitter, and believe me, he was one of my babies. And he called one of my brothers, my brother, the only brother that's out. And then he called me. And then, we're all trying to help my poor nephew, even though he's a grown man and has 12 kids. And I'm like, my baby's crying. This is how, Josh, this is how intense it is. And people don't understand the abuse, because this is an abuse that have the outside scars. All abuse has inside scars, but when it touches a love of your heart you have for someone else, including Jesus Christ, if you have love for him, it's a stab. It is a stab, and you can't pull it out until you realize they don't have power over you. And the whole maze falls, just like that movie Labyrinth. At the end, she goes, "You have no power over me." And the whole maze just falls.
Yeah, it comes down like a house. I love that movie. It comes out like a house of cards. I just got to beat my drum a little bit to reset here. Here we go.
Oh, John. Da-da-da-dum-dum-dum-dum. I love it.
Rick, you still holding
Josh,
on, Rick?
If I ever talk with you by yourself, I've got a friend up north that has a drum ring all of her own. She was a drummer in high school in the band. I'll let you know later.
Okay.
I'm going to go let you guys talk. I'm still listening.
So, Josh, you're trying to get a hold of me or what?
Yeah, I kind of said, kind of explaining, what happened in the past, and, the importance of making sure that we remember, to just, let people know how we feel, and, how important it is to resolve things and don't let things fester and all that good stuff. And so I don't know if you were paying attention. I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that.
Oh no, I'm right here. I'm listening to this. It's I've been going now for 5 hours, so I'm trying to digest everything I possibly can.
Okay.
So we got a lot of people still calling in. So why don't we?
We'll talk offline a little bit more about that. But so you said a lot of people are calling in, like.
Well, yeah, they're listening in. We got a lot of people on. We're on 8 different platforms right now. Okay. We're on YouTube. We're on a number of Facebook platforms. We're on our radio network, which is our telephone line. So there's people listening in, Josh. So go ahead. So keep going forward. And I'd say in about 15, 20 minutes or so, maybe you can wrap it on up,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how late you guys keep going. I'll need to take a little break. I might come back on later if it's still on. I know there's some people that were planning on coming on late. We had some fun times, though. I don't know. I've been always wondering, you probably could fill me in. Do you remember when that Asian lady used to call up and then call the watchtower and let them have it and stuff with her accent and stuff and go back and forth? I think her name was Agnes. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, people, come on, Josh. What we had here in the last 20 years doing the program, people come in. We call them sometimes they're media rights. They come on. They
that lady was hilarious.
I know. Yeah, I know she was. She was a wonderful woman. Allison Wong was her name.
She's like,
and
I'm gonna expose you, watchtower. I'm gonna tell y'all people.
Oh yeah, Well, she, they come on for a while and they leave. I mean, that's the story here. The six screens. We have some people that've been listening from the very beginning, 20 years ago. But most people come on, they get what they want, they move on. It's just a therapeutic program. That's all I can tell you. People,
Remember Crazy Alan Williams?
all the people. We've had thousands of people come through here, so they do. But it's a place where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk. We
A
kind
lot
of
of people don't know because I used to always come with my craziness on here. Rick Fair one time made a rap song. He made like a recording like of a beat, and he was like the DJ, and he was like, "Go ahead, Allison." And they made a rap song, kind of like how I was doing. I don't know if you remember that, Rick.
I do.
You don't
no,
remember?
Well, yeah. Well, Allison Wong, she was on for a year or two, and she
And then he came out with that beat. It was like, ding,
well,
ding.
well, she started a Facebook group, No Nonsense Jehovah's Witnesses. It's really huge today. Really huge
Yeah, but
today.
I don't think she does anything with it. I think she just disappeared.
Well, no, she disappeared. She left it to me, so I'm the moderator of it. Yeah, but it's something that it's the six screens. The audience is good. We get a big audience. I mean, if everyone stayed on from the beginning, it would be really huge. But people get what they need. They don't. A lot of people say, "Okay, fine. I understand the Watchtower is a cult. I get it. I'm out of here," and that's it. So,
and that's fine, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's very good, and that's very healthy. However,
can I ask Josh a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed your drum, right? And it has a sound to it, and it sounds a lot like Ben Harper's song, Burn One Down. And because it's 420, if you know that song, maybe you could play it. I don't know.
Well, I'm a very novice, believe it or not. I study Afro-Puerto Rican percussion. It's called bomba. I forgot today was 420. I would love to participate in 420. However, one of the things, maybe you could relate or kind of help me. Since
if
I have
you don't like my fire, then don't come around, because I'm gonna burn one down. That's all I can do. Sorry for torturing the audience.
I just feel so awkward. I don't even know how to ask for drugs. I grew up too much of a Jehovah's Witness. I've always been around people that smoke weed and stuff like that. But I've been always too chicken shit to just like procure it myself, even though it's not legal here in Texas, and I'm always so afraid of getting pulled over here in Texas and stuff. But that's one of the reasons why I want to go to Florida, where you could just get it legally. I think it'll probably be a lot better for me, for my nerves and.
In Rhode Island, where I come from, it was legal, and I've grown to see that it's. But in that line of Ben Harper, he said, if you don't knock it, try it first, and you'll see that it's a blessing and it's not a curse. It's from the earth, and what's from the earth is from the greatest worth. And we have medical marijuana in Rhode Island, but they straight up got rid of medical, and it's just you can just have it recreationally now there. And it really helped me with a lot of my PTSD and with certain problems that I had from the Watchtower, emotionally, anxiety, stuff like that. But it's not for everybody. But because it's 420, I figured I'd bring it up. And your drum sounds exactly like the opening drum for the song, so that's why I said it. But man, I think you're a really great person for the community.
I'll do a riff for you.
I think you're a really good man. Awesome, man. Thank you for everything you do.
Oh man, I haven't done anything yet. I want to get going with stuff. We used to just I don't know, man. I hope some of the older folks chime in that I used to know from back in the day, and we used to just have so much fun, cracking jokes, playing sound clips. I don't know if my boy Caleb is here. You know, we used to just do a lot of stuff. And I used to do stuff to annoy Rick all the time, and he knew it was me, and he never called me out on it. But we used to, and then sometimes the shows used to get real crazy, people arguing, and then like the next day we would all call each other and crack up. You know, we used to have a lot of fun, Rick.
Well, we did. I mean, we still have fun here on the six screens now. You know, Josh, we had 192 different programs here on the six screens in 20 years. You know, some still around, some have gone, but a few still hang in there. JW World News, for example, that's from the very beginning. We've been doing that. Of course, we get Barbara Anderson. She's making a big hit here on the six screens. Her program, Barbara Anderson, Watchtower Insider Tells All. I mean, that program is just unbelievable. She'll be on next Saturday. She's getting so much attention. Everyone loves Barbara Anderson, you know?
Well, here's the thing that's even if people get burnt out with the six screens, I've gotten burnt out with the six screens, you know what I'm saying? But here's the thing that people need to understand. When you're new and you're coming out and you're seeing all these channels and Patreon stuff and people making good, you know, all this content, you're just a person watching your screen, watching some YouTuber, watching some guy trying to make money, and there's nothing wrong with making money, but it's like, you know, you might send them a super chat or something now, and they might give you a shout out or something, but you're not gonna get any kind of one-on-one interaction or sense of real community or make any real connections and friendships or meetups. You know, when I first left the organization, I organized a cruise and I promoted it here on six screens, and people showed up from all over the world and we went on a cruise. So the thing that like has to go down in the history books for you and your legacy, I mean, you've provided over the last 20 years something that it's a little different, that's going to catch the eye of certain witnesses, where they could actually call in and just have actual real-time conversations with people and interactions with people that you can't do just watching, you know, some YouTuber. Not to bash the YouTubers, you know, and that's why when I really get launched and I'm trying to turn this space into a real studio, and I'm going to have equipment, I'm going to invest in a conference call phone like you have. I want to make content that's as crisp as that, but I want to have that six screens element, that ability for people to just call in and just have unfiltered real conversations like what we're doing now.
Well, that's the secret sauce. I mean, we've been doing that from day one, even before YouTube. When we first got on YouTube, there was only 4 other people on there. And so, you know, it really wasn't a big platform at the time. And then we decided to go on the telephone call, which really opened up a whole new ball game, because, you know, a lot of people aren't internet savvy. They couldn't get on YouTube. They couldn't get on Facebook. They didn't have accounts. So they would call in on the telephone line. So we started that like 20 years ago. So it takes a while to get people used to that. And so now a lot of people listen in on our telephone line, and they find that.
Yeah. I mean, the magic is still the the magic is in YouTube, because it's I know I'm on all these platforms, but it's just the whole the old fashioned. I consider it like this. You remember that show Frasier?
Yes.
Remember Frasier Crane? He was the second, and he just had his call-in show. That's what this is. Now it's just YouTube and all these platforms enhances it. But if anybody's gonna get reeled into this and see this and get insight and hopefully, you know, wake up from the control that the Watchtower has, it's gonna be from them here, you know, watching on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is great, or Facebook or whatever, but it's the people that are calling in and having the ability. People that are watching this, you could actually call the number now and just have a conversation. You don't have to send me no super chat. You don't have to join my Patreon. You could just be on here. You could chat, but you could actually call the number and have a conversation with me or whoever else is listening. And it's not only in the States, there's people in other countries that have made connections with this.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in fact, YouTube, we're not even monetized here. A lot of people monetize, they have commercials and they come on, but that's not a big issue. And I can understand people can do that. They can make a few bucks. YouTube is kind of badgering me that they really want me to monetize. There's we get a lot of listeners and they like to make money. I mean, that's what YouTube's all about. Of course, Google is, they own YouTube. But they're kind of badgering me to monetize things. They want to make money off of this, so they kind of get aggravated. And I know that for a fact we're held back. We don't get as many listeners. We don't get as many people wanting to, subscribe because YouTube is not really pushing this because we're not monetized. So we might monetize it, but that's not to ask for Patreons and give money. You might have to have a little commercial. That's what YouTube wants me to do, and we will get
something very clear. There's nothing wrong with Patreon or nothing wrong with getting monetized. But what I'm saying is, for you to have interaction with us, you don't have to pay anything. Is what I'm saying. That's not necessary. Regular YouTubers, like for them to mention you in a video or everything, you got to send like a super chat, a $5, this, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you're listening. You're talking to me and you're talking, but somebody could actually call and in real time be heard. That's what I'm saying. That makes this a little different.
Yeah, no.
On this thing, Rick Sheeran gets a penny a minute for every single person that listens. I know that for a fact because I had a show, Watched Her After Dark, that's my intellectual property, Rick Sheeran. You make money off of every second that people listen on here. You're a liar.
That is.
I was a part of it. Don't you act like this isn't a money-making scheme, Rick Sheeran. I know you. You knew my dad, Arden Hanson, when you and your first wife were here in Tucson. You used to go and eat at Spurs with us all the time, and you were a big, giant fucking piece of work. And I came online to investigate you along with my father and my Uncle Brent. And that's why my Uncle Brent went nuts, because Uncle Brent knows you and he's talking from prison.
Yeah, well, thank you, Veronica.
Seriously, Rick Sheeran.
No, really, Veronica. Well, why don't you keep your mouth? Your mouth is a little dirty.
My Aunt Jessica got chopped with a machete 130 times.
I understand. Go ahead. Listen, Veronica, if you can use good language, I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I'll give you the floor. I'm not gonna.
And Watchtower After Dark is my intellectual property. It was on my channel. You are not allowed to use that.
Well, I will get rid of that.
Con artist, you even steal shows from people.
Veronica,
I am so fucking pissed at you. No fucking idea.
You listen. If you can't stop your language, if you want to come on here and tell you what beef you have with me, I'll be glad to hear it. But please don't use bad language, Veronica. That's all I'm asking. You want to berate me. You want to tell the audience how bad I am. You want to do that. Go ahead. I'll give you the floor. Don't use bad language, okay, Veronica? I mean, really, don't. If you want to be,
why are you focusing on that? That's a straw man. You acted like fucking Watchtower.
Listen. Why don't you tell the audience what a bad man I am? Why don't you do that? I'll give you the floor. Go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Down here in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
Rick Sheeran brought his first wife, and my dad and Rick Sheeran are exactly alike. I've got recordings of my father acting just like Rick Sheeran. He idolized you because you claim to be of the anointed. You never interviewed for the governing body. Why don't you show some proof? I've got Samuel Hurd in my baptism photos.
I've got Veronica. I mean, what you're saying here is not sensible. I have no idea what you even.
Are you fucking
Listen, if you can't, Veronica.
Rick, why don't you just mute her for just a minute? I'm not
Well,
saying.
yeah, I mean, if she could use good language, I mean, I want her. Yeah, she.
I don't mean any harm, but I just want to say something. If you just come here for a second.
Again, why can't you just shut up? My little cousin Ty got with the Jehovah's Witnesses in New York. My aunt Jessica's New York Jehovah's Witness family. They re-abused him, and now they adopted him out, and I can't see him until 18 because the New York Jehovah's Witnesses are weirdos. He got taken away again.
Well, what does that have to do with what does that have? So Veronica, what does that have to do with me? I mean, you've been berating you have been berating. Why don't you listen to me for 1 second? You have been berating.
I need to say that. You have never let me talk since then. Isn't that funny? Uncle
Veronica, just 2 weeks.
Listening to Dick Green. Uncle Brent had become one of my fans after Grandma's funeral when I called you. When I called
Veronica,
you the year before,
Veronica.
Uncle Brent and Grandma's funeral, he became one of my fans.
We have no idea what you're even. You're mirandering.
That I was being called a liar. And he killed Clyde because he knew that's who I was talking about.
Oh yeah, people really understand what you.
He wanted to prove the Dick Greens. That's what he's going to end up saying. He wanted to prove the Dick
Veronica, people have no idea what you're even talking about, Veronica.
I'm telling you right now. Can't you function?
Yeah, I'm functioning, but what?
Every single fucking thing I've ever
Listen, if you can't use good language, I'm going to get rid of you, okay? I told you that. I don't want bad language on here, and you're using it. So if you want to talk to me a nice way, stop the bad language, okay? Jeez,
I can't help it. I'm a junkyard Jehovah's Witness.
Well, you're more than a junkyard Jehovah's Witness. I'm beginning to really doubt your credibility, and a lot of people are, Veronica, unless you can come on here and explain. Why don't you explain to me why I'm a bad person, okay? In a nice way without using swear words, okay?
Because Uncle Brent heard you not believing me, and he got pissed. Wait a minute. What the heck are you talking about, Uncle Brent?
What did I say about Uncle Brent?
My Uncle Brent's all in the media and on the podcast.
Well, I think really, I mean, if you could have listened to some of the callers that were on here before, you'd be shocked, and they're very disappointed with your behavior, Veronica. I'm disappointed, but I know that you're suffering. I know, and I'm not going to pick on you. My goodness gracious, you have a lot going on in your life, so I'm not going to pick on you. But if you're going to come, if you're listen, why don't you listen to me, okay, Veronica? You want to get on, you want to spread bad things about me, Bill Bowen. I know it's Vanessa. I know it is. I know it is, okay? So why'd you always use fictitious names to begin with? You're a very uncredible character, okay?
You moron.
Yeah.
You moron. You kept pushing.
Okay, we don't need her. I mean, if she wants to come on and be a sensible-minded woman, we'll listen to her. But other than that, Josh, we don't need it. We really don't. Sorry, Josh.
It goes back to what I'm saying, just hurt people sometimes hurt people,
Yeah.
So,
well, she's a hurting woman. I mean, I don't want to get into a big conversation with, but she's been berating me all week long.
I know it's hard to take. Just in my work with dealing with mental illness, and when I say mental illness, I know I have mental illness, so I'm talking like applying it to myself. And sometimes I've had breakdowns and stuff. And I'm just attacking everybody. And, there's some people that I've, told off that I felt like I was justified in that. But it's like, when you start learning philosophy and different things, it's like, you don't have control of what other people do, but you always have control of how you react. And so I'm saying this not because I'm a paragon of virtue. I failed in this many times in my life. But all I wanted to do in coming on here, and my heart goes on to this person that was calling that I don't know. So your beef is not with me. But one of the things that I promised my mom, I don't know if she heard me, but I promised my mom that for going forward, I'm just gonna strive to be a more patient person. Try as best as I can to choose my words better. Try. I know I'm not gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna try not to be so quick to use profanity. You know, or not at least in when I'm reacting to somebody, and just try to just be just exemplify the kindness and the grace and the patience my mom had. And that's what I'm going to try to strive to be, like, to not. And that's kind of a quality I think a lot of witnesses have, you know, even though it's kind of misguided. But I'm just going to just try to be a person that's just going to respect the elderly, you know, try to comfort the downtrodden. You know, just my mom was just the kindest. Everybody loves their mom, and they talk about how beautiful their mom was and everything, and it's true. But my mom just had this kindness to her, even though when it was time for her to be firm, she was. But she just had this kindness and this kindred spirit that was so great that she got taken advantage of and unappreciated for many years. And her kindness was so great that a lot of it rubbed off on me, as aggressive as I can be. But her kindness made her naive sometimes to things. I don't think she was naive, but she exposed herself to things that were pretty rough, and it caused a naivete in me where people have taken advantage of my kindness and taken it for weakness and stuff. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I just want to honor my mom and just try to just be more patient.
Well, your mother was a wonderful woman, Josh. She was a wonderful woman, not non-combative.
Yeah.
She was just a great person. And when we do the eulogy and we talk about her on your program coming up, when we're going to have the service here on the 6 Screens, I think it's wonderful that you love your mother so much.
People can say whatever they can say about Rick Farron. You know, I've had disagreements with you before, but when it comes down to it, I don't see any of these YouTubers or any of these other people without hesitation saying, yeah, we'll do a eulogy for your mom. We'll do this for your mom and stuff. You know, that's stuff that would cost like a lot of money. I got blessed to have a friend. He's not a former witness, but he's doing the urn for my mom. You know, you got to be kind. You got to be forgiving. There's just got to be forgiveness in this world, man. You know, I don't know what the beef is there. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Well, I mean, the beef is, I mean, I have to tell you that the poor girl, a Smurf girl, she goes by Smurf Girl. Her name is Vanessa Houston. That's her real name. I mean, she just told me I could give the name.
Honestly, I think years ago she was mad at me for something. We had a fight.
Well, what it is with Vanessa, and the poor girl suffered a lot. Her uncle, you might not have got the whole story, but her uncle was actually murdered. He was a Jehovah's Witness man, and his brother, which would have been her other uncle, killed him and killed his wife as well. And he's going to prison for that, obviously. It was a terrible thing, all, involved in the Watchtower. And somehow, some way, I mean, she was on here 2 weeks ago praising me and, oh, Rick, you helped a lot. And then this week, she's been all over 6 Screens, and I mean, not all over 6 Screens, but all over Facebook, saying, what a bad guy I am, and what Bill Bowen. So, I mean, I gave her the forum tonight to speak up and tell me how bad I am. But, I'm not going to have some woman come on using the F word every other word she said. And, what really ticked me off, and, I cut her some slack because I know she's undergoing a lot of stress. But what really ticked me off this week is she actually suggested that I was involved with the murder of my wife. Now, how would you like it? You just lost
That's kind of, she's lucky you even allow her on your thing because, well, then again, you obviously must realize that there's a mental health issue there.
Right. Yeah.
That's a big one. Somebody.
When someone comes on and suggests that, I had my former wife died. She died. I mean, it wasn't any.
That's some serious.
I want to say stuff.
Character lawsuit right there.
Yeah. To say stuff like that's too much. Yeah. So, but I gave her the time, but I do understand that I'm not going to berate her. I do understand that there's a lot of issues going on in her life, and maybe she's just a little off track. But I'll be glad to listen to her again sometime if she comes on and wants to be my friend again. I'm not going to hold her hostage. Let's go to. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. It's Aaron again. I know this might not be the completely right time to speak to your character, Rick, but I would like to at least chime in with something a little bit because it came up earlier as far as the monetization of your YouTube channel. Let's talk about that for a second, right?
Yeah.
Now you have 6.8K subscribers right now. All right.
Yeah.
Now I just want to say, for me knowing, because I'm a YouTuber, right? I've been involved with YouTube since 2005 when it first started. Now, I understand that if you monetize your channel, if you were to have done it earlier, let's say years ago, 10, 15 years ago, you could have made a substantial amount of money on your content. And not only would you have made more money on your content, but you would have also gained loads more subscribers than you have right now. And why is that? Because the YouTube algorithm would have been spreading your content around more. The fact that Rick is not the audience, I'm talking to the audience now, the fact that Rick is not monetizing his content at the moment means that he is giving up the opportunity to have the algorithm spread his content around and gain more subscribers, thereby allowing the Jehovah's Witness ex-JW community to grow even further. He's giving that up, not monetizing, and I'm thinking it might be because that speaks to Rick's character in my mind, because I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think Rick is looking at it in such a way to where if he monetized his channel all this time and he's making money off the content, people could come back, especially Watchtower, and say, look, he's putting out all this content, he's gaining all these subs, and he's doing it just to make money. But Rick is the kind of person that has not done that, right? So that's the way I'm looking at it, and that's why I think Rick speaks to his character as a really good person, and that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you.
You can do that, but so far you haven't done.
Well, thank you, Aaron. In fact, I mean, I'm not saying anything in a way to, make people feel bad, but it cost me $400 or $500 a month just to do this. Seriously.
Right.
Between all of the, I have to have a YouTube Buddy. I have to subscribe to, I have the best plan, one of the best plans they have with StreamYard. It costs me money through the conference call. I pay for that. It costs a lot of money to do a program like this, but I'm willing to do it on my own dime. I want to help witnesses. I don't see that money has to come in. When you start putting money, I want patrons, send me $20 a month. When you start doing stuff like that, what happens is you better put a good program on. You better be better than the last program, because I mean, people are paying for your content. I don't really want that. I don't want that. I don't want. Yeah. So you have to make it really good. But they do want me to monetize. At least have commercials, but people can skip through them. They want that. I'm more or less being told that by YouTube. Yeah.
Well, again, and if you did, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing. No, I don't see anything wrong with it, Josh. And I'll be very.
Rick, you know this for a fact. How many fights we got into in 2015 when I was telling you, get rid of your old website, go on YouTube, get on Facebook. Didn't we have these arguments?
Oh, yeah. No, we did. No, we did. And we kind of had. Yeah. No, we did. No, I remember that.
It's not a criticism, but no. I'm saying it as to back up what that gentleman was saying. Years ago, I was trying to get Rick to do this, like this, and
well, we should have listened. I should have listened to you, Josh. It would have been. We would have been.
It wasn't that he wasn't listening to me. I mean, it was just what he was doing was working, whatever, and whatever. But it's like,
well, I went on.
Rick could have monetized this a long time ago if he wanted to.
Yeah. Well, we were one of the first on YouTube. I should have stayed back then. We got on back in 2000. I think it was 2008, 2009. There was only 4 other people exposing the Watchtower. So we really should have really stayed with it. Then I switched over to Facebook and the video suite. But now I understand that YouTube is a platform. That's where people come and listen. But it's good. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining one bit. But our subscribers could really go all up. And if I think by monetizing we can get more people to listen in and get out of the watchtower, to me, I'll go with that. And I'll be very transparent. If we make what are you gonna make on YouTube? 25 cents a click. We'll see what happens.
You would need like million something subscribers to make views to like really start making a living off of this. Like 6,000 subscribers those a lot of views. Whatever.
No,
like, that's no money.
Well, what are you gonna make? Maybe
maybe not even 20
well, maybe a couple of $100 a month or something. But that's not. But it's not the money. But if it would get more subscribers, more people listening in, I'll go with that. But to just make it's not a big thing. You have to have a whole lot of subscribers, like you say, Josh. They go by clicks. YouTube, of course, Google owns YouTube.
It's very hard to make money on YouTube like that.
Oh yeah. Well, John Cedars, I mean, and he does good. I'm not in any way telling you that he's not.
But he's been all about profit from the beginning, and people that do marketing, they pay to get subscribers.
Yeah.
So that's it's
so
he
does, and I have no problem with anybody.
Mike, I'm not criticizing him either.
Anybody that makes money, I mean, goodwill to them if they can do it. I just never wanted to get into that arena because I know what money does. And then the other problem that we have here on the 6 screens, we have 14 different programs that are running on the 6 screens. So, you start monetizing, then, well, wait a minute, Rick's making money off of my program. I'd like to share some of that.
You start talking about intellectual property like your MSNBC or something.
Yeah, it gets to be very encumbering. So I think of that aspect as well. But
you owe me a bunch of intellectual property for all my shows I did, Rick.
Oh yeah. So it makes it very yeah. Go ahead, Aaron.
But Rick, I don't think you're obligated to share your monetization with other people in your that you invite on your platform, because I've seen other content creators that have shows, and let's say the other person has their own channel and they're monetizing their own channels, and they can upload the program to their own channel at the same time you're doing your program, and then they can make money off of it too. But I don't think you're obligated to share that with them.
Yeah. Well, no, I see exactly what you're saying, Aaron. It's something that I wrestle with all the time. I mean, the reason why I want more subscribers is not for money. I do okay. I have my own little business here. I'm not materialistic. I do fine. I live in a nice place, nice house. I have a nice car. I'm not, there's nothing really. I'm not materialistic. I'm not looking to go on big trips and do things. I just like what I'm doing. It's my hobby, so to speak. It's my profession too. I mean, this network is my profession. I spend a lot of time in it. But but if we could help to get more people listening in and get them out of the watchtower, I would do it in a heartbeat if monetization was the answer. But thank you for sharing. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really mean
feel
that.
Like it's about time.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron.
I just want to pose this to the audience, if I may. I don't know how many people are still listening, but every week, no matter what platform you're on, I mean, we're talking about the things that what the Watchtower has done and how it has affected us. I remember a big tagline Rick used to use a lot back in the day was the tentacles of the Watchtower, And, in my personal situation with the death of my mom, a lot of cousins are coming out of the woodwork, and, people are starting to come together and stuff. And it's just like, there's people that never been Jehovah's Witnesses a day in their life, but know that their family's like all effed up because of religion. And they don't understand it and they don't get it. And there's just a lot of trauma and hurt and fractured families. And then, we talk about it every week. The Watchtower right now gives us a lot of, like, I really don't try to follow it, but like, you can't help but see it, like the weird changes and all this stuff. And, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm seeing stuff now in my lifetime that I didn't think I was going to see. I mean, I know the Watchtower is going to continue to fall and fizzle out, but I thought that, it would be like probably after I'm dead and gone before Beards came out again or something. And my whole thing is, I just maybe want some suggestions, even maybe like, what can we do, or to like, because like this program, I guess Rick starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 11:14 p.m. in Texas, which for those of you on the West Coast, it's already 12:14 in the morning. It's midnight. So after all is said and done, and we've talked about so much stuff about how horrible it is, what else can we talk about? What is it that we could do to just try to help each other feel better about all this stuff? Because our time is limited. And I'm literally asking. I have ideas. What is there, I'm trying to reinvent myself with this Lighthouse thing. I mean, where do we go from here? Like, where do we go from here? I'd hate for it to be just to us to talk about how bad Watchtower is and what they've done to us, jw.org. But like, I don't know. I want to hear, if anybody's out there listening, what are your goals? What are the things that you're trying to do now that you've had your freedom, you freed your mind? What's the next chapter gonna look like? That's what I want to hear.
Well, I'll be the icebreaker here, Josh. You can go after 20 years of doing the program. There's certain things that I see works. There's certain things that doesn't work. Obviously, all of us, our attempt would be to try to bring healing to people that have left the Watchtower. That's our first attempt. And a lot of people have been really hurt. Other people's haven't been hurt that much. But that is probably the main premise. But when my former wife and I first started this 20 years ago, our premise was to help people to come to grips with Jesus. We left because of the theological teachings in the Watchtower, but that doesn't work. We don't preach on Saturday night, but that was our basic premise: is to get people to come to understand the real message of the Bible, not the Watchtower message. But I've been condemned for that. And oh, geez, Rick's a Christian. I don't want anything to do with him. We're leaving, and I don't want nothing to do with spirituality. People have really hurt, and I don't really get that part of it. I mean, witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses, why were they going to the meetings? I was going to the meetings to learn about Jehovah, to learn about God, to learn about his creations. And I thought they were teaching me the truth. But it seems like when people leave the Watchtower, I don't want nothing to do with it. We have our Sunday programming. Our Sunday programming doesn't bring in 1/10 the people that our Saturday program brings in. It never has. And we have some really good people on there as well, Bible scholars. And people just don't want anything to do with it. So that was our original intent. My former wife, who is now with us, but that was what her idea of the whole thing was. She's the one that really came up with this whole idea, and to get people to come in and listen to Jesus and listen to the real message, not to be a Bible thumping Christian, jam stuff down people's throats, but just to give people real Christianity. But people have been so abused spiritually by the Watchtower, they don't want anything to do. And because Rick Farron says he's a Christian man, we don't like him. I mean, that's obvious. Seriously, that's obvious.
It's interesting and commendable. You have your Christian show on Sunday. I remember you did that before, and you have this, this other thing, but just overall, that hurt is not just exclusive to Watchtower. I see a lot of hurt in a lot of people in a lot of religions that are, you know, have that same trauma and don't want nothing to do with it. But even from a Christian theological standpoint, you know what I'm saying? You know, Jesus, he enjoyed going to weddings. You know what I'm saying? He did fun things. That's what I'm talking about. Even let's say if I was still really trying to follow theology like that, and I do have my, you know, times where I want to get into that stuff. It's like, I don't know, because like again, I haven't been listening to the show in a long time, so I'm just maybe talking out of ignorance. But like,
well,
I used to enjoy. I'll never forget this one person that called one time telling her story. You were interviewing her, and she was talking about how she picked up all kinds of hobbies, and she's doing the clarinet now, and she's traveling, and she's doing all this stuff. And it was just so interesting to see a person just doing other things. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, look at me now. Like when I first left, I wasn't able to do this. You know, I mean, at some point, I just think there has to be a clean your palate. We've been talking about, you know, all this stuff, you know, maybe let's just, you know, especially when it gets later in the night, let me hear how your day went, or what vacation you're trying to go to. I don't know.
Well, yeah, no. In fact, things like what are you doing for a living now? What do you do for jobs since you left the Watchtower? What are some of the things that you have found out in the real world that you never were able to be involved with that brings some joy to you? There's so many things. So many witnesses have now left the Watchtower and they have freedom. And I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, that's how I feel, Josh. I feel like I'm totally free. I feel like really I'm on top of the world since I left the Watchtower. You can't enjoy life in that organization. How can you? I mean, everything is don't do this, don't do that, do this, do this. It's not feasible. It's not mind strengthening. It brings you down. That's what the watch.
It keeps your mind infantile. And like, I'll use you as a perfect example. Imagine the type of career you could have had in broadcasting had you not been in Jehovah's Witnesses, and you know, you had to, like, in the sweat of your brow, come up with a certain way before they had all these apps and platforms and StreamYard. You know, I mean, I remember a lot. I remember stories about how there used to be a cab driver that had a case full of cassette tapes of 6 screens recording. Remember that guy?
Oh yeah, no. In fact, people would listen to this traveling around. Numerous people did that. People on paper routes. The woman from Connecticut, her and her husband would deliver papers, and they listened to all the programs. See what it was, Josh. Not now that there's so many people kind of doing similar things, but you know, when you were first getting out of the Watchtower, say 10, 12 years ago, there wasn't many platforms. There wasn't many things you could listen to. So, I mean, people really took this to heart. But that's not the way it is today. There's a lot of people out there doing the same thing. So that's wonderful. That's a good thing.
Yeah, but again, to this day, I think you are the king of the just live calling, you know. And so, you know, back to the thing that I was saying, I think I share that with you because I enjoy having a forum like this. I enjoy listening to calls, reacting to people's calls. I enjoy, you know, the camaraderie that builds with that. So, you know, maybe who would have known? I could have probably been a radio personality myself had I not been in the Watchtower. You know, but that's our thing. I'm sure there's other people that have other things, you know, and I think that we need to, like, again, I don't want to change anything. I think before I was trying to change and control, like, I think all the programs and all the other YouTube channels that are exposing Watchtower, they need to continue to do what they do and be there, and it's very important. But, you know, I only got about another maybe 20 years left on this planet if I'm lucky, you know. I want to experience new things, and I want to share my experiences with people like on a platform like this, as as somebody that, saw the light in the storm, the lighthouse thing, I really want to develop that. And, I want to know what other people are doing, who has traveled, who has dated, who has gotten into other relationships, different things, because then that could help me and others, learn on how it is just to function in normal society, and just have accomplishments, and just get the best out of this life that you can while you can, because you only get one life. You know what I'm saying? If there's an afterlife, if there's a heaven, whatever, who's gonna make it to heaven or whatever, we don't know. I mean, that's my opinion. And at the end of the day, nobody truly knows.
Well,
and for those that feel that they know or have that hope, more power to you. But God, if there is a God, He really wants you to take full advantage of this gift of life that He gave you. He doesn't want us, constantly and just slaving for some organization in a meeting, and He doesn't want us constantly just talking about how horrible Watchtower is, and that being our own, being one-trick ponies. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I do. In fact, that's an interesting thought that you have. Watchtower, see, they paint the apostates as people that will not succeed. These are mentally diseased people. They are tools of Satan. Their life is going to be totally messed up the rest of their life. That's a fallacy. That's not true. Many people go on, they do fine things. And maybe our program could work with that. People
I just want to be a little slice of that. I'm not trying to criticize anybody else and whatever, but I just want to be a little slice of that. And eventually, I'd like to just have my own setup here, just like yours, and continue to work, simultaneously with you, and just and I just hope more people will speak up and participate, as we wind this down. But you know what I'm saying here.
Well, I want you to try that, Josh. I know it will work. And I know that you're some really good ideas. You're a creative guy, and you can make this whole thing happen. You can make the whole thing happen.
My whole thing, I don't know if you remember back when I had my show, I would bring guests on and interview them that it was always people that never even heard of Six Screens. Like, I would do the footwork and find people and bring them on, Yeah. And so it'll be nice to just have something where it's just different type of people that are maybe not in, and it was a real nice thing. Is there anybody else out there, as I'm winding it down, because my eyes are getting a little heavy, and I gotta, I don't think I can stay up as late as I usually would. But is there anybody else that has anything to say or anything to add, or any ideas they have for me to make my show better, or any lively, or my segment? I know I'm just substituting today, but I think Rick was gonna explain to me, of a time slot. I'm not sure, but
let's go to 720. They're on with us. 720. Go ahead. You're on with Josh Rivera. Go ahead, 720.
Hey there, Josh. Hey there, Rick and Stan. Join the show tonight. I think Josh made a good point. I've noticed a lot of witnesses, when they come out, they don't really get into reinventing themselves. I think that's a good word, because we had everything into Watchtower. We were invested fully. And, we really do have to invent ourselves. It can be kind of lonesome. And, people go all different ways when they get out. Sometimes they go down the alcohol road. They go down the sex road. They go down this road. They go down to atheism. They go down all these paths. And it's probably different for each people. I went down the alcohol road and the sex road and that sort of road for a while, and then circled back, found God. But I think some people, you guys had touched on it earlier. I think some of us, need a sabbatical. I mean, Watchtower, this is a bad thing to say, but Watchtower weaponized the Bible against us. They beat us with the Bible. They made us eat shit. They're making the Watchtower people eat shit right now. It's horrible to say, but think about it. You're a 65-year-old man being told you could wear a beard. I had a picture sent to me the other day by my brother. My brother Paul sent me a picture of my brother Doug, who's a presiding overseer. And guys, it was the saddest picture. I'll show it on Rick's show one time, but it was the saddest picture you ever saw. My brother's mouth was open. He looked semi-retarded, and he had a half grin on his face. And it really disturbed me. I thought, wow, 65, 66 this year he'll be. And I thought, he looks mentally ill. And he's sitting there with kind of a half grin. He don't know if he should smile. He don't know if he should be angry. He don't know. His face said all that. And my brother, my younger brother, was just laughing, you know, look at Doug, look at Doug. And I thought, this ain't no joke. Women told they can wear slacks at 65, singing a Christmas song. These guys are chameleons. These guys are lizards. And they have used the Bible to destroy people's mental faculty. People don't know where they're coming or going. They've been lied to. They've been false prophesied, all in the name of Scripture and Bible and Jehovah. And so they have a right to say, Bible and witnesses, kiss my ass. I need a sabbatical. And so that's what they've done, guys. They're like, I need a break from all this bullshit. I got to let
me ask you a question. When you said you went out to this different routes and then you circled back, but at a minimum, even though there was probably some bad choices or whatever, did you feel like that time was like a sabbatical for you by any chance?
Say that one more time. It was a little bit distorted. Could you repeat it, Rick, a little bit?
You had mentioned that, okay, when you know how we're talking about the sabbatical period, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
You said that you left and you kind of went down the alcohol road for a while and the sex road for a while, and then you circled back. Out of curiosity and comparing to me, would you say when you went to your alcohol road and your sex road, do you consider that part of the sabbatical you took or no?
Yeah, that was, here's an example. We don't get to develop normally as witnesses. It's normal. Adolescence is normal. Holding a girl's hand, kissing a girl's lips, feeling her out. That's all normal. It really is. It's part of human development. Talk to any psychologist. We didn't get to develop normally. And so you have, if you don't, I hate to say it like this, Rick, I know, but it's like, how do I say it and be right? It's like when you're oats, I heard a guy say that one time and I said, that's horrible. What do you mean your kid's sowing his oats in college? That's immorality. That's this, it's that. But he knew there's a certain part of our human nature that's developed. Well, my dad, when I was young, I was holding a girl's hand, and I've said this on Rick's show, and it was a cute gal, and I just liked her. And I was like, 17, 18, I don't know. I was young. My dad comes squealing down the road, slid the car sideways, almost run into me, like 60 miles an hour on a gravel road, grabbed me by the hair, and drugged me in the car and says, you don't get, that's a worldly girl, you took the blah, blah, blah. That was one incident, okay? Yanked me in the car, treated me like an animal, abused me, and then talked about the girls he screwed in Vietnam. Okay? And I've seen this happen in Christianity too. But the second incident happened was I went to a funeral in Michigan, and I was pretty young. I wasn't married yet. And I went down to this funeral. My old girlfriend showed up, and she just wanted to stand next to me. My uncle, who was a Bethelite, freak, kids all this and that, hall committee, he looks at me and he smiles at me and he held out his hand. And I said, oh, I'm going to shake his hand. And he started crushing the shit out of my hand. Now think about this, what this would do as a young man with normal desires. I see this beautiful girl come back into my life. And I wasn't going to do anything because I was studying with the witnesses. But anyway, my uncle crushes my hand. And he goes, I can crush your hand, but Jehovah can kill you. And I went, whoa. And I mean, he almost broke my hand because he was a mechanic. Well, he said, Dan, I'd like you to come back to Georgia with us. Why don't you just come back and then take a bus back to Texas, back to Houston? I went back. I'm telling you guys, I went back. Now, this is all over this girl. He puts me in the car, turns on the light, and we drive for 12 hours of preaching. I did not know what auxiliary pioneering was. He was auxiliary pioneering. He was getting hours in. And then he tells me when we got there, he says, I got a fine young lady for you that I want you to, go out with. And I go, okay. Now, this is going to sound crazy, guys. It's a crazy story. She looked like a man. And I hanging upside down in a car.
She had good spiritual goals, right?
Yeah. So I go, no. I got a couple girls back at the, hall that, that really like me. And he said, well, this girl's a fine young guy. I go, no, Neil, no. I don't want nothing to do with it, okay? So you know what he told me? He says, I'm going to give you some advice. Now think about this. This is a high up. This is a guy in the church, right? Bethlehem, he's doing everything in the hall you can do, right? Been in there his whole life. And he looks at me and check out this. Listen how crazy this is, guys. He tells me, he says, find one, Dan. Find one. Anyone. They all have the same movable parts. Now, here's the thing. Watchtower says the same thing. If you can't get control of your vessel, find a woman to screw. But it says it like this. It says, if you can't get control of your vessel, marry.
Marry, yeah.
That's not get to know. That's not hold hands. That's not so when you said that about the sabbatical, it was my time to do what I should have done when I was 15. Hold a girl's hand, kiss her on the lips, put my arm around her, feel her waist, whatever. It was my time to do it. So here I am in my 40s, going, through my second childhood. So this psychologist guy I was listening to, he's like, it's absolutely normal. So I circled back. I got into alcohol, got into it pretty heavy. Part of it was because I wasn't confident. I had no self-esteem because of Watchtower. You're a good-for-nothing slave. You're just, when I wish to do right, I do wrong. You're just worthless. And so I had to overcome all that self-esteem. And so I drank, so I'd have courage to talk to a woman. And it didn't help because at the time I was like a fifth every other day. And anyway, it cost me everything, guys. I literally bankrupted. I foreclosed on a house. It wiped me out financially. I hit bottom. And right there is when I said, hey, God, I need a little help here. I need transformation. I don't know why I'm sitting in an empty house foreclosed. I don't know how I got in this situation. No cell phone, no car. I need help. And right after that, everything changed. Everything. I met my wife soon after. My life just it moved from glory to glory to glory, has not stopped since. I've done everything. I've done a lot. I've traveled. I've written books. I'm a 4-time author. My wife's an author. We speak. We do all sorts of wonderful things. And God changed me. God changed me from this person that Watchtower had me mind controlled in to this dumbed down, following men. A total mockery. Do you guys feel it? What I'm feeling for those drugs?
I really have to respond to like 3 things that you said. If you just give me a moment, to show you how much what you're saying is resonating with me. I have a similar story to yours, and it involves my mom. And it's something I know she feels uncomfortable saying when I used to say this story, but she used to laugh about it too. So there was this girl in junior high school that I really liked. And I think I made out with her one time. I was in I think I was in the 7th grade or something. And we're not supposed to have extracurricular activities or anything like that. But I had lied to my mom just to tell her I had to stay a little bit after school in PE. We're doing track, but it's not really a extracurricular activity, but it's going to be for hours, part of something we have to do to get credit. And it was kind of the truth. So my mom got suspicious of me, right? So we had track going on, but what it was is I was kissing this girl underneath the bleachers. And so my mom came to the school, similar reaction to what your dad did, right? And what she did, she got one of the school security guards to place himself at this gate, this fence. And then she drove around the other side and started walking towards me, right? So she starts yelling in front of all my friends, the whole school, like, oh, this is your track, right? Whatever, whatever. And I start running for my life, I just ran. All my friends, like, needless to say, I was the laughing stock of the school. So I ran in the other direction because she caught me kissing this girl.
Oh my God.
And then I tried to jump the fence, and the security guard grabs me, big, muscular black security guard, man, like 6 foot something. Grabbed me and had me dangling with my, in the air, and body slammed me. Okay. And then my mom, the whole school's dying laughing at me. Okay. You want to talk about self-esteem? And then when I started walking towards the car, my mom's hit me in the back of the head with with her keys, talking about, Jehovah, and you're gonna get reproved and all this craziness, So
Yes.
I wasn't hurt. She couldn't physically hurt me.
But we were probably.
You gotta hear the story. Let me finish the story. She couldn't physically hurt me because I wasn't really big. I was probably almost as big as I am now. But the embarrassment of just me just kissing a girl, just being with my friends, like it traumatized me, right? So we get home.
Yeah.
We get home, and she's gonna give me a beating, right? And I was just so angry that she embarrassed me like that. So she's hitting me with the belt, and I'm not feeling anything. And I'm going, and she's like, oh, you're raising your hand at me, right? Raising your hand at me. And I was just going, but she took that, she's Puerto Rican, like, so she grabs an iron, like to iron. And I'm like, I see that iron coming from me. So I bear hugged her, right? And so she's kicking back, and her legs are, kicking up in the air. And I'm like, Mom, I can't let you hit me with the iron. And then so she finally calmed down. She goes, let me go. Are you okay? I'm calm. I said, you're not going to hit me, right? No, just let me go. So I let her go. I'm like, she walks out the room. So I'm like, oh, okay. Whatever. Next thing you know, about 5 minutes, I'm kind of feeling good about myself, right? About 5 minutes later, I hear this crack, and she breaks the freaking broom on my head. End of the discussion, right? Now, why do I say this? It sounds like abuse, whatever. She was so petrified of Jehovah that she felt that she had to put the fear of God in me to not get involved with a girl or whatever. And plus, I was so much bigger than my mom. She always felt like she had to show like dominance on me because, she was like this little thing, you know what I'm saying? So she was real rough on me. So I'm going to fast forward to 4 years ago. 4 years ago, when we moved to Texas, okay, we're out of the organization years now. There's a girl, I forgot her name. She used to call the Six Screens. She's a XJW. She found out I was in Texas. Comes to find out she's been a longtime fan. She drives from Huntsville, Texas, like 2 hours to come see me and spend the day with me, right? When I just moved down here. Pretty attractive girl, whatever. She met my mom. We go shopping. We do things. My mom, whatever. XJW, oh, nice. Whatever. We're meeting and everything. So my mom's in the room. So I'm trying to entertain this girl, and we're on the couch. She's like, better not close that door. And then we're just talking flirty. That's inappropriate. I'm like almost 50 years old, and she's treating me like JW, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna be honest, like I could have gotten lucky, I could have did this, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And she calls me in a room. She's like, you better not disrespect me. You better not disrespect this house. Now I realize it's like, and I got into it. I was like, Mom, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness no more, But it was like me and the girl looked at each other, and it's like we realized nothing could happen. We were drinking wine. We just had to like chill out, you know what I'm saying? But I thought it was just so cute that my mom was doing that, but it just shows the trauma that even years after leaving the cult, with all the guilt she felt, just normal interaction between men and women, like what you were saying, we didn't get the chance to develop in our brains just normal things, hormonal things, how to interact in society and people, how to have celebrations, how to have friendships, how to have romance. So even now at 50, it's very awkward dealing with certain things because I didn't get to develop. We're trying to develop things late in life that normal people develop when they're in high school, when they're in junior high school, when they're in elementary school. And so I remember I had invited the girl over again, and it's like, we wanted to get busy, and she just looked at me and says, your mom's not gonna let us. I said, I know, because she still retained some of that JW stuff, but I just, older in life, even though she didn't have the right to just like enforce things like that, it's like this woman has been affected by this religion for so many years. Even though she's out of it, it was just like we still had to kind of like, even to this day, rest in peace, it's like I still felt like I still had to operate like a JW. But I love her for it because I know the intent was there. I even wrote on my Facebook that I said, Mom, thanks for all the whippings. You kept me out of jail. And I totally believe that, So I don't know if that makes any sense. You were talking about what you went through and your uncle. Like, they were so dramatic in enforcing whenever they saw us trying to interact with the opposite sex or with friends that weren't in the congregation. It was like so dramatic, like cars flipping over. Like, I went through that too, so I understand what you're going through, what you went through.
And that's what I'm saying. That's just a shame that happened because the pendulum swings back the other way. You don't stay out there. You realize that's not love, and you kind of swing back the other. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world when you kind of swing out that way. It comes back to the middle. It doesn't stay. It's just a shame, like you say, we're 40 and 50 having to do that, and I'm really sorry that happened. And boy, that's happened to a lot of witnesses. I've heard a lot of witnesses have got the hell knocked out of them for stuff that their own parents have done. I mean, a guy said one time, he said, most of us were probably made in the back seat of a 57 Chevy, and it's true, in a lustful thing. But I've seen guys talk about the girls they've had and then tell their son, if so help me God, you get into this disease, women, you get into that, and boy, I'll knock you into. And I think, holy cow, what a nutcase. But we grew up in that. But here's what I want to say. I got to say this. No matter what we do, if we remember the prodigal son, right? He said, hey, go out on your journey. Go do your journey and then come back. Go turn the rocks over. Go out and, do your thing. And what's interesting is we can never be separate from God. Never. God birthed us in this womb. God brought us here. We weren't in a body inside of a woman. We were a spirit. Where the hell did we come from? Who put us into the seed? Who knitted us together in the womb? So if God knitted us together in the womb, then we were a divine idea in the mind of God before we got here. We were an idea of something wonderful and amazing. What he made was good. And what's beautiful, once we get out this stuff, we kind of find that equilibrium again. We kind of sort of seeing who we are and what our gifts are. You'll never find your gifts in a cult. They're going to tell you what your gifts are. They're going to tell you to hold the microphone and be the pioneer. That's not your gifts. You're made in God's image and likeness, here to unfold in a unique way, unlike anybody else. Not better, not worse, but unique. A fingerprint. All of us have a different fingerprint. And we get to unfold in a very beautiful way. But it's sad that we've had to be suppressed, be cramped down, be told that left is right, right is left, light is dark, dark is light, 75 never happened, generation prophecy never happened. Yeah, you can wear beards, now they're singing Christmas songs. Jesus was a throwaway at one point.
Yeah.
You want to say something, Angela? Angela wants to say something here. Josh, hang on.
I think maybe one of the most important things that has to happen is that because we know that we've been programmed, we first have to come to grips with the fact that we've received programming. And the only way to undo programming is to, I think the sabbatical idea is maybe one of the most important things. But another one is to say, okay, I'm going to open myself up to some other ideas. So, like, let's just say that you pray to the unknown God. You don't know you somehow have an idea that you were created by someone. So you say to that God, I need to be divinely guided. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. You just say that like that. And then wherever your heart leads you, you just kind of go out. I say you just go out in faith. What I've seen Dan do is to go out in faith out on a limb, and just say, what I'm feeling like, I really, really feel like I want to do this, or I really feel like I want to do that. And so one of the things he wanted to do, there's a certain church he just felt just guided to. And so he decided to go to it. And he goes to put his hand on the doorknob of the church. And literally, he said he was so fearful that his hand was going to burn off because Jehovah was going to just completely, lamb blast him. We hit him with thunderbolt, and he was so afraid. And the lady who went with him said, Dan, just open the door. Just open it. So he did, and he went in, and he had the most wonderful experience of this sense of love that he had experienced, and really a big surprise, wonderful things that he learned about himself. And it was just the right thing for him. That lady didn't want him to go there, but he wanted to go there. And so everybody's going to have a different guidance for it, because I feel like because the one who created us knows what we need. So you follow that guidance and just, because you just know that your heart is trying to yearn, cause you to yearn for something that it knows that you need, and you can't get lost. You can't possibly get lost. Let your feeling of, I feel greatly desiring to want to do this, to do that, to go here, to go there, and just let that be the guiding force. And I'm telling you, that has helped so much me and Dan both. And it could just be crying out to God and saying, I need to know this, or I need to know that. And then all of a sudden, whammo, the next day, this person has this perfect book for you that they just so happen to, say, hey, I just love this book, man. It's this for me, that for me. Like, oh, I got to have that book. I got to have that book. And you know it. So then you just go get that book, and then you read it. And this is kind of how it goes. And this is the way we're slowly and gently and lovingly deprogrammed. And it's like facing some fears and doing it anyway. Like putting the hand on that doorknob at that church was scary as all heck for Dan, but he did it anyway, and there was great reward.
I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he was able to branch out and experience. Like I had a similar experience. For me, it was the Unitarian Church. Unitarian Universalist, and it was scary, and I just walked in, and I wasn't struck by lightning. It was very, non confrontational and everything like that. And then I took my mom there once, and it was just it was just a nice, pleasant experience. What helped was that Unitarian Church didn't have crosses and stuff like that. They had some stained glass, but it was just a little bit easier for us to walk in. But here's the thing, like talking about sabbaticals and stuff. So I'm not in any box. I have a good friend, Rick knows who I'm talking about, who is a kind of like a scholar. He knows people in Israel that are custodians of the Dead Sea Scrolls and they call it the jewel of the book and manuscripts and all that kind of stuff. Like he knows these people. So I'm interested in all that too, but I study philosophy, Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, agnosticism, secular humanist. I'm not confined in any box. I've given myself permission to explore and see everything. And I there's aspects of Christianity I still enjoy and everything. And, I've tried to get hobbies for myself. I've tried to get into my African spirituality because anything African was taught to be satanic by the colonizers, whether it's Jehovah or Christianity or whatever.
Can you do me a favor? Is there any chance that you could take it off speakerphone, because you're echoing really, really badly? It's distorted words coming out, or maybe to go out of the echoey room or something. I don't know what something that would help.
I'm not on a speakerphone. My audio is coming in through my webcam. So I don't know if Rick could do something, but I'm about to just wrap it up. I really enjoyed talking to everybody today. A lot to think about. This was kind of a last minute thing. So the next time I come on, I'll have a little bit more things to talk about, maybe some more people that are going to be on here with me. I've enjoyed it. It helped me to be distracted a little bit. It was therapeutic for me, losing my mom. And I just wanted to give a chance to people I'm glad I'm meeting new people, but some of the people that knew me from before. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. I feel okay. I don't think the anxiety is going to be as bad tonight. I'm going to take an anxiety pill, because I'm still reeling. My mom's been, not with us just a little over a week, so it's still very fresh. But I think she would have appreciated me doing this. Rick, I thank you for all your help. I don't know if you're still on here, Rick.
I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here, Josh. Well, listen, you just relax tonight and take it easy and get a good night's sleep, and all good things will happen, Josh. You just keep hanging in there.
Yeah, I appreciate you, and you just let me know during the week how it's going to be coming up. I hope things get resolved with this Veronica person. And for others out there, I don't know if Carol's listening or the other people that know me. I'm winding it down, but if you want to hit me up on in Messenger or whatever, and just chat a little bit as I get ready for tomorrow and everything, I'm available.
All right. Well,
thank you for sharing all of that stuff. Thank you for sharing, because when you share, then it gives other people permission to share, just like what you said about you visited all those different kind of churches and places, and then people are like, oh well, he didn't get struck by lightning either, and it did you some good, and it's getting you some freedom, and they have permission to try it out themselves and not be so fearful, knowing that nothing bad happened to you either. So we've been lied to. And so anyway, I'm really glad you shared all that, and that you're being so open. So thank you so much for that.
The point is like the gentleman said, we got to circle back. Make sure we circle back. Yeah. And that's all I'm trying to do is circle back. All right, Rick, man, I love you, man.
Well, Josh, keep waving that flag of victory. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Dan. For coming on. All the people that came on tonight on Josh's program, thank you. We'll be hearing more from Josh. We're going to find a spot for him. Light After the Storms, the name of the program. So you'll be hearing more from Josh, and thank you for filling in, Josh, for Connie and Dick. So good night, everyone. Keep waving that flag, as we say, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on the 6 Screen Sunday, beginning at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Thank you all for coming in tonight. And I want you to know something. It really is meaningful to people like Josh. He did lose his mother in the last week, and it's been very, very hard for him. But coming on here tonight, I know that's made him feel a lot better. And, this community, the sad part about it, when many witnesses die, ex-witnesses, I should say, die, they're kind of just waving in the wind, so to speak. A lot of their relatives and friends have disconnected from them. But Josh is trying to develop a program where ex-witnesses who have died can at least be acknowledged through this program that he's trying to develop. So him and I have been working on a program to memorialize or help people that have left the Watchtower at least have somewhat of a service when they do die. So let's keep that in mind, and thank you for all you guys listening in. We appreciate it, and we'll see you tomorrow on the 6 Screen Sunday. Thank you very much.